Two names rich in history: Bartons, our family-run business with over 100 years of experience in drinks distribution, and Lancashire Cricket, a club drenched in tradition, heritage and globally recognised moments. Since 1917, Bartons has been supplying the finest wines, soft drinks and premium beverages across the UK, partnering with world-class brands to bring unforgettable experiences to every occasion. Now, we're excited to announce we will be bringing that same passion to cricket fans at Emirates Old Trafford. As the official wine, spirits and soft drinks partner of Lancashire Cricket, we're elevating matchday experiences, hospitality and celebrations across the next 3 years. From the first ball to the final cheers, Bartons is here to make every moment one to savour. Keep an eye out for some familiar brands such as Guinness, Celavino, VK Hooch and Britvic. Bartons and Lancashire Cricket, partnership built on passion, unforgettable moments and history.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary.
Welcome to the opening day. Oh, that is a wonderful shot.
This is a call for hungry dreamers and hard-working self-believers. Success is down to more than just luck and talent. It's striving to be the best, breaking the boundaries and never giving up. Are you ready to become your best self? Are you ready to unlock your greatness? So what are you waiting for? This is Education Evolved. This is UA 92.
When I was a kid, there was no professional women's cricket. I didn't even think that women could be professional sports people.
Especially early on, it just didn't really seem like there was a career in it.
To support myself around cricket, I had to work at the petrol garage.
I was the only girl, so I stood out.
I'd love for young girls to be able to dream about being an athlete and it to be achievable.
Thanks to the Chilton funding my contract, it's allowed me to play the game that I love all day, every day.
We're like an engine and we need to be fuelled with the right gas.
Without funding, we can't be visible. You can't be what you can't see.
As a team, it feels like we're breaking boundaries.
Thunder and Lancashire always want to put women's cricket at the forefront, and now I think that's really shining through.
It's mad to think that without the Hilton funding, like, we wouldn't be playing cricket every day, training.
Well, we could be, but we wouldn't have any money.
We wouldn't, yeah, true.
Life can be extraordinary, unforgettable, amazing. Life is about the joy of being together. It's sharing every moment, indulging your passions, and making memories that stay with you forever. Life is live. The thrill of the game, the buzz of a network, the enrichment and fascination of a cultural soiree. And we feel every sensation because we're right there with you. Always on, always fully engaged to help provide that extra spark, heighten emotions, and make every occasion simply unforgettable. Because the best live events don't just happen to us, they become a part of us, forever associating your brand with life itself. Live can be extraordinary, and we're ready to help you make the most of every inspired, delicious moment. Welcome to Sedexo Live.
Two names rich in history: Bartons, our family-run business with over 100 years of experience in drinks distribution, and Lancashire Cricket, a club drenched in tradition, heritage and globally recognised moments. Since 1917, Bartons has been supplying the finest wines, soft drinks and premium beverages across the UK, partnering with world-class brands to bring unforgettable experiences to every occasion. Now, we're excited to announce we will be bringing that same passion to cricket fans at Emirates Old Trafford. As the official wine, spirits and soft drinks partner of Lancashire Cricket, we're elevating matchday experiences, hospitality and celebrations across the next 3 years. From the first ball to the final cheers, Bartons is here to make every moment one to savour. Keep an eye out for some familiar brands such as Guinness, Celavino, VK Hooch and Britvic. Bartons and Lancashire Cricket, a partnership built on passion, unforgettable moments and history.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary.
Welcome to the opening day. Oh, that is a wonderful shot.
This is a call for hungry dreamers and hard-working self-believers. Success is down to more than just luck and talent. It's striving to be the best, breaking the boundaries and never giving up. Are you ready to become your best self? Are you ready to unlock your greatness? So what are you waiting for? This is Education Evolved. This is UA 92.
When I was a kid, there was no professional women's cricket. I didn't even think that women could be professional sports people.
Especially early on, it just didn't really seem like there was a career in it.
To support myself around cricket, I had to work at the petrol garage.
I was the only girl, so I stood out.
I'd love for young girls to be able to dream about being an athlete and it to be achievable.
Thanks to the Hilton funding my contract, it's allowed me to play the game that I love all day, every day.
We're like an engine and we need to be fueled with the right gas.
Without funding, we can't be visible. You can't be what you can't see.
As a team, it feels like we're breaking boundaries.
Thunder and Lancashire always want to put women's cricket at the forefront, and now I think that's really shining through.
It's mad to think that without the Hilton funding, like, we wouldn't be playing cricket every day, training.
Well, we could be, but we wouldn't have any money.
We wouldn't, yeah, true.
Life can be extraordinary, unforgettable, amazing. Life is about the joy of being together. It's sharing every moment, indulging your passions, and making memories that stay with you forever. Life is live. The thrill of the game, the buzz of a network, the enrichment and fascination of a cultural soiree. And we feel every sensation because we're right there with you. Always on, always fully engaged to help provide that extra spark, heighten emotions, and make every occasion simply unforgettable. Because the best live events don't just happen to us, they become a part of us, forever associating your brand with life itself. Live can be extraordinary, and we're ready to help you make the most of every inspired, delicious moment. Welcome to Sedexo Live.
Two names rich in history: Bartons, our family-run business with over 100 years of experience in drinks distribution, and Lancashire Cricket, a club drenched in tradition, heritage and globally recognised moments. Since 1917, Bartons has been supplying the finest wines, soft drinks and premium beverages across the UK, partnering with world-class brands to bring unforgettable experiences to every occasion. Now, we're excited to announce we will be bringing that same passion to cricket fans at Emirates Old Trafford. As the official wine, spirits and soft drinks partner of Lancashire Cricket, we're elevating matchday experiences, hospitality and celebrations across the next 3 years. From the first ball to the final cheers, Bartons is here to make every moment one to savour. Keep an eye out for some familiar brands such as Guinness, Celavino, VK Hooch and Britvic. Bartons and Lancashire Cricket, a partnership built on passion, unforgettable moments and history.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary.
Welcome to the opening day. Oh, that is a wonderful shot.
This is a call for hungry dreamers and hard-working self-believers. Success is down to more than just luck and talent. It's striving to be the best, breaking the boundaries and never giving up. Are you ready to become your best self? Are you ready to unlock your greatness? So what are you waiting for? This is Education Evolved. This is UA 92.
When I was a kid, there was no professional women's cricket. I didn't even think that women could be professional sports people.
Especially early on, it just didn't really seem like there was a career in it.
To support myself around cricket, I had to work at the petrol garage.
I was the only girl, so I stood out.
I'd love for young girls to be able to dream about being an athlete and it to be achievable.
Thanks to the Hilton funding my contract, it's allowed me to play the game that I love all day, every day.
We're like an engine and we need to be fueled with the right gas.
Without funding, we can't be visible. You can't be what you can't see.
As a team, it feels like we're breaking boundaries.
Thunder and Lancashire always want to put women's cricket at the forefront, and now I think that's really shining through.
It's mad to think that without the Hilton funding, like, we wouldn't be playing cricket every day, training.
Well, we could be, but we wouldn't have any money.
Yeah, true.
Life can be extraordinary, unforgettable, amazing. Life is about the joy of being together. It's sharing every moment, indulging your passions, and making memories that stay with you forever. Life is live. The thrill of the game, the buzz of a network, the enrichment and fascination of a cultural soiree. And we feel every sensation because we're right there with you, always on, always fully engaged to help provide that extra spark, heighten emotions, and make every occasion simply unforgettable. Because the best live events don't just happen to us, they become a part of us, forever associating your brand with life itself. Live can be extraordinary, and we're ready to help you make the most of every inspired, delicious moment. Welcome to Sedexo Live.
Two names rich in history: Bartons, our family-run business with over 100 years of experience in drinks distribution, and Lancashire Cricket, a club drenched in tradition, heritage and globally recognised moments. Since 1917, Bartons has been supplying the finest wines, soft drinks and premium beverages across the UK, partnering with world-class brands to bring unforgettable experiences to every occasion. Now, we're excited to announce we will be bringing that same passion to cricket fans at Emirates Old Trafford. As the official wine, spirits and soft drinks partner of Lancashire Cricket, we're elevating matchday experiences, hospitality and celebrations across the next 3 years. From the first ball to the final cheers, Bartons is here to make every moment one to savour. Keep an eye out for some familiar brands such as Guinness, Celavino, VK Hooch and Britvic. Bartons and Lancashire Cricket, partnership built on passion, unforgettable moments and history.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary.
Welcome to the opening day. Oh, that is a wonderful shot.
This is a call for hungry dreamers and hard-working self-believers. Success is down to more than just luck and talent. It's striving to be the best, breaking the boundaries and never giving up. Are you ready to become your best self? Are you ready to unlock your greatness? So what are you waiting for? This is Education Evolved. This is UA 92.
I know, yeah. Let's not wait too long.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. You just got back from holiday, haven't you?
I've been training camp. It was turning into a rehab camp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 12 weeks now since I.
Well, they're talking. I can't interrupt them while they're talking.
Come on, you can come in the middle.
Well,
Hi, I'm here. Who was right here?
Hello, Kate Cross.
How are you both?
Yeah, 2 rehabs. How are we?
2 rehabs, yeah.
Sage, isn't it?
I know.
Have I?
I've tried to avoid that word, but it is.
No.
I have more. I have more of that than you do. You have years ahead of you.
Okay, girls. So I've been taking some questions from Lancashire Cricket, and are we good to chat about it? Ask you some. Okay. So first question for the both of you: what's the moment in both your careers where you went, "I've fully achieved my goals"?
Don't know. Because I think that's the point before you decide you're not going to go anymore.
I was going to say, I don't think I've got there yet.
I'm not sure I've decided I've got there yet. I think that's all part of what I've got to find out. Hopefully, well, I don't know if it's hopefully soon, because that means like, oh yeah, I've done everything now. I'm going to kick back and not do anything else. So no, I think, and I've spoken to other athletes, I don't know about you, they say you're a long time retired, and knowing that you could still do more or achieve more or be better in yourself. Personal best performance is always the thing that you focus on, or certainly I have. Being better than you were yesterday as an athlete, and achieving your own personal best, being the best version of yourself. So yeah, when you find that out, maybe that's the time you start thinking about the end.
I feel like there's definitely things I've wanted to achieve that I have achieved.
Like mini goals?
Yeah.
Would you say like you have mini goals as an athlete?
Yeah, I think you have to, because otherwise the picture's too big. I think you have to break things down. And especially I think for me, having a bit of a split career, like kind of with Lancashire and then also with England, then there's things that I still want to achieve with England, there's still things I want to achieve with Lancashire. So I think that motivation is what keeps you going as an athlete, and probably what makes it really difficult to retire, because there's always something around the corner. There's always something that you want to, or think you can achieve. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that I've achieved probably half the things I want to.
That's exciting though. The dial can always keep on moving for the both of you.
Yeah, I think there's things I've achieved and never anticipated. Like I never imagined I'd ever be a cyclist when I was a little girl. So I think you go into different parts of your career and new opportunities, and you take them with, you know, two hands, or in my case one, and just try and do the very best that you can. What the other things in cycling, that every cycle race, every road race is on a different course. So knowing what the course is going to be, for example, like last year at the Worlds, it was a really hilly, it was the hilliest course we'd had, with the longest climb in the road race. It was the longest time trial we'd had. And that was the sort of race I'd always waited for and was living for. And it makes you think, oh, well, if they're going to give us that sort of course, what might they do next time? And it makes you excited to see what the opportunities might be. So yeah, there's loads of things that I've achieved that I never anticipated or never dreamed of. I feel really fortunate for those. And then there are other things you're waiting to see. But where might we race next time?
It's like a loads of time left.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I love that the first question you've asked, we've both gone, I don't know. That's a good start.
That's all right. That's fine.
But I also think a lot of people think that athletes have got it all worked out, that they know exactly what they're doing. And we know what we're doing day to day. We know the foundations that you need to be a strong athlete, to look after yourself as best you can, or you have mishaps, as we've both had in the last winter. But you have a kind of a way of working, kind of a operational principles, if you like, of being the best athlete you can be, of getting enough sleep, eating the right things, planning your logistics around recovery training from travel days, and all the different things that you have to do. We have certain things worked out, but we don't have everything worked out, and I think that's okay.
What are the biggest changes that you've both found since being in women's sport?
Well, for me, it's definitely going from an analogue age into a digital age. My first international call-up was in 1992, so were you born?
Just, yeah.
Just.
I was 91.
I was like, hang on a minute, I've got to do the maths here.
I wasn't there yet, but that's okay.
Come back.
Only by a year, only by a year.
And so, learning how to promote yourself twice, if you like, because when you were trying to promote yourself, get sponsorship, you know, move up in the world outside of your sporting achievements, you had to write letters, like snail mail letters. The internet hadn't been invented. You had to put pen to paper. Not everyone had a computer at home. Not everyone had a printer at home. That might sound daft. You couldn't print something directly from your phone. There was no such thing as wireless. Everything was cabled. So having to learn how to promote yourself twice, and then learning how to utilise the digital age as an older athlete, those have been the biggest changes for me, apart from the sort of sporting things. But you have to be able to get that to be able to settle on the sports field, I think.
So do you feel like you've had to promote yourself? You really feel like you have to promote yourself twice?
Well, you've had to learn how to promote, learn how to do that, learn how to move forward with a career, because in sport you never know how long your career is going to last. So knowing that you've got something to fall back on is always really important. Doing something alongside your sporting career, I think Kate and I both do that and always have, so that you aren't just reliant on one thing, because if it gets taken away from you because you're injured or ill or something happens, you need to be able to continue to live and work. So for me, that's been the biggest difference, apart from obviously the crowds and the way that you can watch sport, obviously streaming platforms and those sorts of things. But as a personally, having to obviously very grateful that things like Facebook weren't around when I was at uni, but equally, you've kind of like gone through that learning process twice.
I think on that, I think women's sport in particular in the last 10 years, or I've certainly been told that a lot of it is on us to promote ourselves, to have a following on social media so that we can promote games. I mean, this isn't now, obviously, this is where it has changed now, but certainly when I was early 20s, I was being told to make sure I had an Instagram page so that people could follow women's cricket, because the big bodies weren't necessarily doing it for us. So I feel like it, from a female athlete point of view, is kind of on us to be the voice. And that's something that's changed massively now. The visibility is huge, and in my opinion, rightly so, because you see day to day what female athletes are going through and working hard at, and you want to put that on a stage so that people can watch it. But from my point of view, it's professionalisation. Like when I was a kid, you couldn't be a professional female cricketer. It wasn't an option. I would watch the Olympics and see women on the telly, and that would be the only time I'd see really women doing sport, other than maybe Wimbledon for 2 weeks of the year. So yeah, the professionalisation and the visibility of it has been what's changed drastically from my point of view. Even starting my career here a long time ago now. I actually debuted when I was 13, which is frightening. It was 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
But that was an amateur sport then, and I didn't know that I could have this as my job, and it changed whilst I was still having cricket as a hobby. So it all sort of shifted whilst I was on the journey, if you understand what I mean. So, but yeah, they're probably the two things that have changed the most in my time.
Okay, so it's kind of similar, if you're kind of rolling off that question. So England are coming to Emirates Old Trafford for the first time in 13 years? Yeah, 13 years, okay. So we've just been speaking about this, but where were you in your career at that time? I suppose 13 years ago.
Trying to do some maths. Well, we're approaching the home games for me.
Yeah.
Right. London 2012. So that was just a huge moment, I think, for Olympic and Paralympic sport. And it started that opportunity for parasport to be better promoted.
Sure.
Still not a professional sport. I think tennis. So probably tennis was first, like it was for women. Tennis is the only professional sport you can do if you're a para-athlete. And so I feel really fortunate that home games gave me that chance to work in women's cycling as well, as part of the team pursuit squad. That helped me to sort of springboard, the qualification for the games helped me springboard my professional cycling career on the road. So yeah, London was just huge, and it's insane to think how much has happened in that time, and that we haven't had a women's international here, because I have an 11-year-old daughter who was born the year after that, and so yeah, it's mad. I'm so excited to see what comes, and the crowds, and that partisan crowd is what you live for as an athlete. So England are going to be goosebumps here, and that's similar to how we felt in London in 2012.
I'm excited. Kate Cross,
what was I doing? So it was around 2012, so I made my debut in 2013, the winter of 2013, so I would have been aspiring to be in that team. And I remember I was really close friends with Sarah Taylor when she was in the squad, and she was up in Manchester, so I came and met her for a coffee before they played the game the next day. And I remember thinking how cool it was that the England girls got to play at Old Trafford, because at that point I'd not even represented Lancashire at Old Trafford, so this was like the holy grail. I'd not even
dream.
Yeah, not been out on the grass. It was like a bit forbidden. And I just, in my head, I just thought that that's the norm, that you get to play at your home ground, your home county ground, when you're representing your country. And I've still not been able to do that. And realistically, probably still not going to be able to do that either, because I'm not aligned with T20 cricket, so it's probably unlikely that I'll be able to get to play in that game. But for the likes of Sophie, Lammy, Ellie, all the young girls aspiring to play for England, obviously Sophie's a dead set in that team, but for all those young girls now, I hope that kind of shifts the narrative, and that we do get more cricket up here, and that this does become a hub for women's cricket, because I've had so many great memories here, and I'm reliant on Lancashire really for the career that I've had. So I want other girls to have that experience, but also be able to then almost take that into their England careers as well, and make sure that this is a place that England women come and play cricket and have success at.
It feels really exciting for women's sport, like proper exciting. Because like it's now the focus has shifted onto women's sport finally,
Well,
and
really
just feels
has.
this real big excitement buzz around it.
And it's the depth of that is being felt. So my daughter plays in an under 13 side, and
What's your daughter do?
she's a cricketer.
Oh my god, I didn't
She's
realise.
playing-
That's amazing.
Well, she's a dancer, but she's cricket, and she's playing in an under 13 side where they've had to split the league into two because there's too many to do just one. And it was one league last year, and now it's two pools of teams with like Stockport Georgians and Woodford and Langley and all of the local clubs coming, Marple I think, with Hayfield. So, and they've split it. I don't know who's in the other pool, but literally you're starting to feel that come all the way down. And you know, it gives me goosebumps to think that this is what wasn't possible when Kate started.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to come as a group, as a league even. They could all come together. I'm going to be making sure as a mum on the sideline, be like, we're not going to play that. You know, it's obviously not going to play that night. You're coming straight from school, you're coming to Old Trafford because, like you say, this is what they should be able to aspire to be able to do on a regular basis, regardless of who's touring.
Well, by comparison, when I was 11, I was the only girl playing at a boys' club, and my local team was in Sheffield, the closest women's team that I could play for. So even in that short, I mean, it is a long amount of time, but in the grand scheme of things, and yeah, it's a short amount of time, and things have changed so quickly. And that's just so exciting that those girls can come and watch female athletes. Because again, I was watching Andrew Flintoff down here and Jimmy Anderson and people ball. Like I was never able to watch females do what we do now. So I think it's going to be so great. And the tagline with women's sport is always that you can't be what you can't see. And if you're not exposing young girls to cricket or to netball or to whatever sport it might be, then they're never going to have the opportunity to know if they even want to give it a go. So, you know, this stadium is here to have people in it. It shouldn't matter whether it's men, women, disabilities, whoever should, you know, you should be able to get people watching sport here. And that's what, hopefully, when we break that record, come whatever date it is, I don't know, I should have probably checked that. But
what's the date?
July the 9th.
July the 9th. Come July the 9th. Then
10,000 people we want to get, right?
We want more than that.
We want more than 10,000.
Yeah, because we want to break the record. I think the record's just around 10,000. So, but this stadium holds 20,000 people, so we shouldn't just limit ourselves to 10,000 people because that's the record. So
we want to sell it out. Yeah, completely sell it out.
Yeah, and set the standard for what women's sport should look like.
Exactly.
And this goes back to 13 years ago. We'd never had sold out crowds. Like I'd never competed in front of a sold out crowd at home until the games in London. So we do sport over here. Like we used to talk about the Australians, and I competed in front of 17,000 people in a swimming pool in the games in Sydney, and that was like a goosebump moment. I was really glad I'd gone to the pool the day before my first race because I needed to see it, because I could never have imagined it. I was 22 or 23, I think, and it was just like, wow, this many people in a swimming pool, that's insane. And that's what we need to become the norm, that those full houses are not seen as something that you might or you might not get. It's just something that's there because people enjoy watching great sport, enjoy watching great cricket.
I know we spoke about this a little bit earlier about women's sport finally getting the recognition it deserves. And with it getting the recognition it deserves, do you think there's still a long way to go with where we're at now?
Well, unfortunately, we still don't get the level of coverage. So globally, sport is worth X trillion. But the percentage of that's allocated to women's sport is still the same percentage. So it's all grown, and women's sport's got more, but percentage-wise, it's not any different. And that's the problem. And some sports have moved on further than others, but when you put them all together, it's not increased sufficiently. So there's a lot of work to do. That's why we are promoting the way we are for the Lancashire team here now, the Tier 1 system that we have in England, now that we have the international game here on the 9th of July. That's why it's so important that in cricket we do what we do. That's why it's so important that we do what we do in an Olympic and Paralympic sport. That's what's happening over at the other side of Old Trafford with the women's team. That's why each of us who own a little part of it, it's our role to make sure that we continue to lift, because column inches still isn't there, and the amount of airtime still isn't there. And this is a pivotal moment, like every opportunity that we get to promote women's sport, especially in cricket, because it's going to be in the Olympics in 2028. That's so crucial. And I think Paris was the first time the Olympic Games had a 50-50 male-female split, which was crazy to think it got to 2024 before that was the case, but that's one of the measures that shows us that we're still not quite there. And also, there were no females in the top 100 earners in the world last year, which is another example of why we're not quite where we need to be. So it has improved and the opportunities are absolutely there. But when you zoom out and look at it from a global perspective, we still need to keep doing what we're doing and keep working really hard. And we need those male allies as well. And we know the names of them, and we need to have way more of them to be able to help bring our daughters and our nieces with us on this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add much more to that, to be fair, but I also think that it's people's perceptions of women's sport that's changing. So I think 20 years ago, you probably wouldn't have got people watching women's cricket or women's rugby or whatever it might have been, but now, I mean, I'm saying this on the back of actually just hearing what happened in Australia with the guy on the radio. I don't know if you heard it, but there was a really misogynistic comment about one of the guys on Triple M talking about the Matildas and saying that it was like watching year 10 girls play football and stuff like that. It was just, it almost felt like you'd gone back 30 years. And yeah,
you will always get those one or two people.
Yeah, and you will, and it is thankfully now becoming the minority. But what happens is those comments are still getting people feeding them. So there's still perceptions there that, in my opinion, need to change quite drastically. But you're only going to get that by having the right visibility, having the right columns, having the right split at Olympics, etc. So there is still a long way to go. But if you look at how far it has shifted in the last 15 years, then it has shifted significantly. So it's almost knowing what fires to fight. And I think that's something that I've learned as well throughout my career, is knowing what you can change and what small part of your corner of the world you can change. But actually, some bigger pictures are really difficult to make.
It's a marginal gains approach,
yeah.
Isn't it? If we all do our little bit, when we add it together, it'll make that significant difference. And sometimes when you're at the coalface, as we are, you don't notice the changes year to year. But then, like Kate says, when you zoom out, you do notice that we have made significant strides. We just need to keep that momentum up. I think it's too easy for people to say, oh, haven't we done a great job? And we're doing a great job. I think that's the difference. We haven't done it yet. We're doing it, and we're all still committed to keep, pushing that dial and making it, more possible, so that more girls can be following in our footsteps and in an even easier way.
I think when we get to a point where we've got a women's game here and we don't have to have this conversation about how do we break a record, that's when you know you've nailed it. But we're still having those conversations, and things are happening for the first time, or for the first time in 13 years, or whatever it might be. So there's still, things that you kind of want to push it along and boot it down the road quicker. But like I said, you have to know which fires to fight and when to do it.
So both your careers, very successful women in sport. If you could relive one of your moments in your career again, one of the moments that you would deem to be like, that was just such a success, what moment would it be?
Can I pick it all?
All right,
that's a great career. If you're picking it all, that's great.
I'd love to pick. So as a swimmer, I really enjoyed, I think back to being 14-year-old in Barcelona. I'd probably redo the jump onto the podium so I didn't nearly knock over the Queen of Spain. That would be a good day to redo, but kind of edit. I'd love to be able to do something before I had kids and relive that opportunity in London in a home crowd. But then Paris, where Louisa and Charlie were both there together, and I beat a 19-year-old, that final sprint in the road race, I'd absolutely, I do relive that regularly, because I just still pinch myself to think that last year went the way it went. So I've chosen 3 because I'm greedy.
Right, let's do 3. Go on.
Oh, I'm not
1 to 3. 1 to 3, Kate Cross.
I've not got kids, so I don't need to take any kids back or bring my age up or whatever. I think one of them would be my test debut, which was back in 2014. And I only say that because it wasn't really covered. It was on a live stream, so it wasn't really televised. I don't really have much footage from it. There's a couple of photos, but I wish I could kind of relive those 4 days, because I at that time was pretty much an amateur athlete. We'd just gone into professionalisation, I think, a month or 2 after that series. So how I got through 4 days of cricket, having never played more than 1 day of cricket before, was quite interesting. My body was quite sore after it.
Imagine.
But then I'm probably going to say the Ashes in 2023 as well, and when I batted at Bristol. So it's very, very, very rare that I get to win a game of cricket for my country with a bat in hand. And I wish I could just bottle up how I felt that day, because it was just unbelievable. I've had a lot of scars from Australian games in the past, and to be able to walk off that pitch triumphant with bat in hand was pretty cool. So I wish I could relive that.
Okay, so what would you say is, in sport, in women's sport, is a common misconception that you wish could be like dispelled?
There's a sense that women need to do less. And so if it's based on time, so the reason the distance is less is because you're going to take about the same amount of time. But in the swimming pool, the women don't do 90 metres front crawl because it's roughly the same amount of time as when the men do 100. So I really struggle with why other races have to be different. And we've started to address this in cycling. They're still addressing this. So they finally moved the time trial on the track up to 1 kilometre to be the same as the men. But up until I stopped racing the track 3 years ago, we were still doing 500 metre time trial to the men's kilometre. At the Paralympics last year, my time trial was 14 kilometres, the men was 28 kilometres. So we still have that issue that the women need to be doing less. And it isn't based on time, because some of the men that were doing 28 kilometres were riding half as quickly as me. So that isn't a reason. That isn't the reason. So for me, it's that idea that women need to be doing less for some reason. We're not capable of doing the same.
Who's making those decisions there?
It's
men.
just
Men.
It's archaic. It's just been there. That's what it's been like. If you think that women weren't allowed to do the marathon until, was it 1984? They weren't doing the steeplechase on the track and field track until 1992. There's other events. I mean, they still do the heptathlon instead of the decathlon. I don't know whether that needs to change. That's something for the track and field athletes to kind of dig into. I know the women in tennis attempted to increase their sets to 5. They play 3 sets. But it's a regular issue that the women's race or the women's event is less. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed, because it's not because we're not capable of racing at the same amount of time. And I was part of a campaign to bring back the Women's Tour de France. It's still at 8 days. The women used to race alongside the men for 3 weeks back until 1986, I think it was. So in lots of different sports, it's been dialed back at the convenience of men's sport, and we haven't quite shifted the dial to reclaim our space.
And the argument with that is now there's money in the women's side of sport that they can fully concentrate on being an athlete, can't they? I imagine 20, 30 years ago, you're juggling a job, you're juggling motherhood, you're juggling all sorts, and still trying to perform as an athlete. Whereas now, you can have a job that is a professional sports person. So I feel like we had a few arguments like that, you know, women were having to take time off work to go and do an Ashes series, so that's why it could never be a 5-test match series like the men's is. But now we're fully professional athletes all the time, so we have that time in the calendar to go and do that. So I think tradition often is a really wonderful thing, but you still need to move with the sport, and I think that's sometimes what doesn't happen, especially with how quickly the women's game has moved. I think sometimes you don't we're playing catch up, rather than actually being proactive with everything. And the other misconception that I think is spoken about a lot and used against us quite a lot is the whole, they're asking for equal pay. I don't think I've ever met a female athlete who has ever asked for equal pay to a man, but all I've ever asked for is an equal opportunity to what a male counterpart would get. So if that is training here at Old Trafford the same amount of hours that the men get, then why shouldn't the women have that? And I think we are very lucky here that we've promoted that brilliantly, and you know, Lancashire worked really hard to make sure that women's cricket is at the forefront here. So that's just always been my argument, is that it's never been about equal pay, but it's all about the opportunity. And just because you're born male versus female shouldn't mean that you get more opportunities than who you sit next to in class who's a female. So that's always been one of my big arguments.
I think part of that opportunity is the resource. So resource then takes care of all of the other parts, which salary is part of, prize money is another part, and then the other opportunities that come with the role of being a professional athlete. And it's not about one thing, and I think one of the dangers is that organisers of events have focused on, we've provided equal prize money, and therefore we're providing the same event or opportunity to the women as we are to the men. But that it's not just about the finance, it's about everything else behind it. So if the race is less safe, it's over fewer days, it's over a shorter distance, then the money side of it is just one small thing.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the opportunity, you can't prove yourself to be, you shouldn't have to prove yourself, but you can't promote yourself in the same way, because you're not getting that chance to, with eyeballs on you in the stadium like this.
It's not just one tick box, there's a lot of things you've got to do. It's not just the money. So what are some of the challenges that you faced as a woman in sport that might be surprising to people listening to this or watching this today?
I don't think mine would surprise anyone, but it's just the fact that I've had to wear male clothes for a lot of my career in cricket. Male
clothes?
Yeah, like everything was male fit kit. It's only probably been in the last 5 or 6 years that our sponsor brands have started making female fit kit. Even like cricket pads, gloves, they're small men's sizes.
Boots
like
as well,
boots,
well.
yeah, there's not really any female specifically.
Some of them are not small enough.
Not small, yeah, because
There
our
are girls
feet are
sticking
naturally...
tissues in cricket boots to make them smaller.
And it's 2025 and you think cricket is big enough and sports are big enough that you would think that we had our own. I know of a few companies that are in the market now, but yeah, for a lot of my career I've worn men's clothes, and like I look back to some of my debut outfits and the training kit I wore and I was like drowned, and I'm representing my country and I was like, gosh, I look a shambles. So yeah, I don't know whether that would surprise anyone actually, but that's, I mean,
It is surprising. I
it's
didn't
kind of
realise.
still going on now.
Well, I think the other thing that kind of follows on from that is that we got women's fit in cycling, but I opted for men's fit because women's fit meant it was shorter shorts, it was a shorter jersey, it didn't account for what an athlete body was, like it was just one shape. So I wanted something that was narrower, that was longer in the leg because it's more aero, didn't need it to be super short. I wanted the jersey not to ride up to above my belly button because I have a long body. So for us in cycling, whilst it was an attempt to create a women's fit, for me just going for the extra small men's was the better way of doing it. And I think it goes to show that all shapes and sizes do sport, so what we need is to have that breadth of range. We don't need to have just this sort of fit. Like if jeans can do it, you can have different, you can go into a shop and be completely confused by the different styles of jeans. Yes. The short, the boyfriend, the this, the that, the skinny, the not skinny, the bell bottom, whatever they are. Why can't we do that in sports kit? And so I've tried to go female fit, but it's not for this female. Yeah. One of the things I didn't anticipate when I became a mum was just how often babies would need feeding.
Even I know that.
No, but like literally, you finish feeding them, you'll get one effort in, you'll need to feed them again. Like that effort was less than a minute. You're hungry again. So I basically had either of them in the other end of the track centre away from the GB pet area where Barney was with them playing, and then I'd go and breastfeed in between efforts to make sure that A, there was not anyone screaming the velodrome down, but B, to make sure that then I could concentrate on what I was going to do. So having a settled and fed baby, however frequent that feeding was the best way for me to handle that early few months of motherhood before they went on to solids and mixed feeding. But yeah, it's just like, okay, so we're going to have you in the track centre and I'm just going to feed you after every effort. That'll be the way we do it. And that surprised me. I didn't expect, but I also didn't expect how it was possible to juggle. And obviously I was lucky that Barney was able to come with me and do everything, or my mum was able to come with me and help support that. And it certainly meant that I came back quicker from each of my pregnancies. But yeah, it was the lengths that you go to, and you can turn anything into a breastfeeding sports bra if you need to.
Absolutely.
One thing that's not necessarily been a challenge for myself personally, but I think something that still surprises me in 2025 is how little research is done around women and periods and athletes and sport and stuff like that. Because I feel like a lot of our blueprints are taken from the men's side of sport, and actually, it happens once a month to every single female around the world. So there should be so much more research and a lot more training that is tailored towards women, I think, than
there is actually a lot of opportunity. But the challenge we have, so I work with Manchester Met Uni, is that a lot of athletes don't want to contribute their data, and so we have a role as older athletes. I'm working with MMU on studies into perimenopause and menopause, so that athletes, as they get older, there's still opportunity. Because if you look at the female population in age group sport, then there's a huge field for the men, and then there's a very small number of women competing. If you look at triathlons or cycling, or even in running as well. Running's perhaps closer to being 50-50, but we still have a challenge. Ultra running is where female athletes seem to go really well because they do get better with age, and the gap between male and female in ultra distance is actually a lot less. But they really struggle to get the cohorts together to be able to do the studies, and I think it's really important that if there are women out there who are struggling, the young athletes that are struggling, that they are willing to contribute their data and what they're finding, because there are a lot of myths as well around cycles and training to your cycle, but you've got to manage your symptoms and train like everyone else, because not everyone has those problems. So what we need to do is try and give them that confidence that it's not going to compromise them as an athlete. If they let out those secrets, it's not going to make them judged. Because I think a lot of women feel, or a lot of young athletes say, if I admit this feels like it's a weakness, and if I admit that I'm struggling with cramps or pain or debilitating symptoms, then I'll be judged and that'll be part of my selection for something. And that's absolutely not the case, but I think that's one of the reasons why we have fewer athletes contributing to the studies that are out there. And most of the studies are done on sub-elite, and that obviously doesn't necessarily work when you've got athletes who are full-time. So amateurs, right. So they're sort of regional and national aspiring athletes, or they are older in a sense that they are in their 30s, they're not in their teens and 20s, and there's lots of reasons for wanting to study at all ages of the menstrual age, sort of child rearing age, because you need to see where bone density usually peaks at around 19, 20, 21 years of age, and the menstrual cycle has an impact. So a healthy menstrual cycle and laying down good bone density will help mean that it tails off less as you get older. When you lose estrogen and progesterone, then in your 40s, that's where bone density can really plummet. So all of those things are kind of interlinked, and trying to make sure that we have enough of those younger athletes. But it goes back to that challenge, is if you can't see it, you can't be it. They're not coming into the sport in the first place. There isn't enough of them to be able to study either. And then they have that, oh gosh, what if I'm judged kind of feeling. So there's lots of challenges.
Yeah, it's the taboo though, isn't it? It's still the taboo within the country of that periods are just things to be quiet about and not to talk about.
And if you're having trouble, there's absolutely lots of support that can be provided to make sure those symptoms don't impact your ability to train, because there's lots of people who have no symptoms at all and are being really successful, and that shouldn't be the case. And I've got friends in cycling who have, and also in canoeing, who have come back from really debilitating endometriosis and won gold medals, and they were told, oh, you'd never be able to do this, you'll never be able to do that. And I think there's a difference between kind of primary care medicine through the NHS route and then sports medicine, and the support that we can give people with more challenging conditions around the menstrual cycle to mean that it doesn't impact on their ability to perform as an athlete.
Welcome along to another edition of Beyond the Boundary with myself, Paul Allett, and today I'm delighted to have the greatest left arm quick bowler in the history of the game alongside me. Played for Lancashire for 10 years, has become an adopted Lancastrian and had a wonderful international career with Pakistan. Wasim Akram, welcome along.
Thank you all.
Welcome back to Emirates Old Trafford. Does it still feel a little bit special when you come back
to Manchester? Of course it does. When I was parking my car, so a lot of memories came rushing back. The playing days, obviously the ground has changed a lot for better. But yeah, every time I come here, last time I was there about 3 years ago when there was a COVID test, so we were in a bubble in the hotel. Yeah. But over and all, playing for Lancashire has been the highlight of my cricketing career. You know, I'm writing my book, it's almost ready, it'll be out in November. Okay. So a lot of positive stuff of Lancashire. For me, playing for Pakistan and coming to Lancashire was like a little oasis. Everything was comfortable, you guys just played cricket. And we had 3 senior players, Paul Allett, Michael Watkinson and Graham Fowler. They used to make fun of all the junior players.
It was a tough school at times, I agree.
It was.
But it's great that you hold Lancashire in such reverence and such esteem. But tell us a little bit about how you came to come to Lancashire in the first place, because you were a very raw international cricketer in the late 80s and 88. Yeah. You hadn't much experience of Western culture.
None.
I don't think you had much experience of playing over here at all, had you?
Not at all. I think in '86, the great Imran sent me to play league cricket up north in Durham.
Okay.
I played for a club called Burnup Field.
Yes.
Boundary was about 25 yards one side, and it was tough for me, you know, as a kid from Pakistan coming to this weather and this country. But the idea was '87 we were touring, so just get the idea how the wickets work, how the weather works. So I enjoyed it. We used to end up every night at that nightclub on, you know, on the Newcastle River, on a
the
ship.
Tyne, the River Tyne.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I bet, and the fog on the Tyne was
and
all
then,
yours.
yes, coming back to your question, '87, I think, or '88, '87, we were playing in Sharjah.
Yeah.
And Neil Fairbrother was playing for England. He got picked up. And Laurie Brown, a physio, great guy, one of the best physios I worked with, great human being too. They got hold of me there. They said, would you like to play for Lancashire? And remember those days, Lancashire, county cricket was, you got to be #1 player in the world. Only one overseas was allowed to play in playing 11, and you can only register 2.
That's right.
So I thought they were talking about Lancashire League. I said, yeah, sure, I'm ready for Lancashire League. They said, no, county. I said, really? So yeah, that was my first experience that I found out.
And did you knew nothing about county cricket, presumably?
No idea. None.
Nothing about it?
Nothing about county cricket. I only read about it in Urdu magazines, cricketing Urdu magazines, that's how it works. But when I arrived here, I remember in 1988, but before that in '87, there was a test match here at Old Trafford. And our chairman, Bob Bennett at the time, Lancashire, a think tank, they got my family here.
Yeah.
For my birthday surprise. They called everyone, my 2 brothers, my younger sister, my dad and mom, to celebrate my birthday here. I think it was on 4th of June, if I remember correctly. But that was the first experience of me of, you know, Lancastrian hospitality.
So the club embraced you right from the word go, and
Yeah,
you
they
in
did.
turn embraced the club. It was actually David Hughes and Alan Ormrod who were running the cricket department at the time, and they must have been the 2 that instigated your first appearances for
Yes,
for
probably. And I remember both of them, David Hughes, Yoza and Alan, has been a great influence early on as a 20-year-old kid coming from a different culture altogether and mixing up with, you know, Western culture, and they really helped me a lot. Remember the first time we met, we was a Forte Post House in Nottingham. That hotel on the 1st floor.
Yes.
And Alan told me to come to team meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening, day before the game. I said, okay. He said, it's in the bar. Okay, I said, that's different. I come from
you're not a drinking culture. You're
exactly. But again, you guys, the minute I arrived, walked into that wine at the bar, you guys all shook hand and said, welcome to Lancashire. So that gave me a bit of confidence. And remember, the next day there was a game against Nottingham, and I was sitting in the corner right somewhere, because huge seniors, I think, I don't know if it still happens or not, the senior players, they have their certain spots in each dressing room, and they go and sit there. So you as a junior, you have to wait that everybody is comfortable, then you pick up your spot, if you get a spot.
I remember wandering into a dressing room, and somebody, it probably wasn't you, was sitting in where I normally change. I said, listen, I've been changing for 15 years.
I think it was me.
Well, I would let you off.
But that's a good culture, though.
Yeah, I suppose it is in a way, although it might be a bit outmoded now.
Yeah, no, probably.
Now then, your rise and appearance in cricket was quite extraordinary, because you played very little first-class cricket, if any, in Pakistan.
None.
And you turned up and bowled at the nets.
It was a camp
of a Pakistan camp.
It was a camp for 100 kids, young kids, and I did, you know, well for my club, Ludhiana Gymkhana in Pakistan. So they, you know, said this guy is good. So my name was in that in particular camp, and I remember first 4 days there were 100 kids, and including Ramesh Raja, who played a test cricket by then, 1 test, and Mohsin Kamal, another test cricketer, and top first-class performers were there as well. So nobody gave me the cricket ball to bowl, so I got a bit down, depressed. So I went back to my captain in the club, Sadiq Khan. I said, look, there's no point in me going. I've been standing there for 4 days. He said, no, you go tomorrow. I'll have a word with the camp commander, and he'll give you the ball. So the next day, 3-4 batters to go, he gave me the old ball. I impressed him for some odd reason. Agha Saadat Ali, another late test cricketer. And then the next day, he gave me the new cherry. And you see, I used to bowl big in-swingers then. and I troubled almost
everyone. To the right-hander?
To the right-hander.
Good ball from a left arm quick. Good ball.
Yeah, so, you know, I impressed everyone there, and then Javed Miandad was the captain of Pakistan squad, so he came to practice. So Gaddafi Stadium is a huge ground.
Yeah, yeah.
So one side was our camp, and his net was the other side. So he wanted some bowlers. So the camp commander said, "You want to bowl at Javed Miandad?" I said, "What? Javed Miandad? I had a poster of him in my room. I would love to."
Well, one of the best Pakistan batsmen ever.
Ever.
And one of the best in the world.
In the world. So I went to bowl at him for a couple of days, and he got impressed by me. And then New Zealand was touring Pakistan, and suddenly my name came in to play against New Zealand team. First 3-day game, President 11 versus the New Zealand side in Rawalpindi. I was over the moon, so was my family.
Right.
Javed Miandad, Sarfaraz Nawaz, Tahir Nakash, all these test, Ramiz Raja, Salim Malik, all these guys were in the squad. And Javed dropped, I think, Tahir Nakash or Sarfaraz to have me in playing 11. That was my first-class game.
How on earth did you feel playing international cricket from straight out of club cricket? How on earth? Because that would well, it would cause issues for an awful lot of guys when you were 17, 18?
I was 17.
17.
Yeah, 18.
So how did you feel?
I think
probably too young to even bother about it.
I was too young to even bother about it. Absolutely spot on. It was blessing in disguise. I didn't know probably half the team of New Zealand. I knew Martin Crowe, Jeff Crowe, Jeff Harwood, John Reid, Jeremy Coney, the big names there, you know, cricketing.
And they were a good team.
Great team at the time.
Yeah.
So I got 7 for 50 in first innings. I don't know how. And second inning 2 for 50. I was just running in and ball, and I didn't know at the reverse swing at the time, but it was just happening.
I know how.
How?
Because you're a good bowler. But I mean, were you quick, and presumably you were raw then, as you say.
Raw.
You say I don't know how, but you did swing the ball. You swung the new ball, and you had this. You had this very quick arm.
Pindi wicket was like a road. You know how Pakistani
flat, no bounce,
flat, no grass, no bounce. But I've got, I think before lunch I got John Wright caught in second slip. And then from there onwards, just everybody walked in, I would just start bowling full, and everybody was getting leg before bowled. So yeah, I think I was too young and naive. It was blessing in disguise that I didn't know who the players were.
And yeah, and you didn't have time to worry about it,
no.
Presumably. So what about your development then? Because you're set into the world stage straight away.
Yeah.
And you've got this natural, raw talent. Were you allowed just to carry on doing that? Or was there some pressure on you to change what you were doing?
Oh, there was no pressure. I had very good mentors in Javed Miandad, and then Mudassar Nazar, who still lives in Manchester.
He does, yeah.
Well-travelled person in Jah.
Yeah,
well-travelled, who also helped me off the field. And then that was on New Zealand tour. And then Imran was joining us. He was playing for New South Wales. So he was joining us. We were meant to tour to go to tour to Australia for Mini World Cup in 1985, where India, I think, won eventually. India, Pakistan went the finals. So I played, I think my first game was against Windies or against Australia. And I got 5 for 21, first top 5 wickets. Again, just bowling full, no control of the swing. That I learned eventually. But in the beginning, just come and bowl and hit the right areas, and that's what I did. And Imran was standing at mid-on, you know, telling every delivery what to do. So that, as a young kid, was a huge confidence. My hero was telling me what to do, and I listened to everything he wanted me to do. And I think that's how I sort of got into the groove of Test cricket.
Was Imran a good teacher, a good mentor? Did he allow you to develop naturally?
Yes.
Or was he dictatorial?
No, he was very easy, whatever I'm comfortable with. But he always wanted me to work hard when I was 17, 18. You know, those were the trades I've learned from him, Miandad, Mudassar, that, you know, talent can stay for 2-3 years, and the hard work can prolong that talent for another, say, 20 years, 15 years. And I think that's where I have to come back to Lancashire. When I played in 88, I remember getting my first 100 here, first class 100. And in 89, I became the #1 player in the world. That 6 months of county cricket, playing with you guys day in, day out, travelling. And you guys were very helpful. You were helpful as a bowler, our captain. Yours are.
I don't know. It's probably the best compliment that anybody's ever paid me, for you to say that I help you with your bowling. But I'm flattered. I do remember giving you a real kick up the backside once when you came off because you said your nose was running and you didn't feel very well.
Yeah, I remember.
Tunbridge Wells, do you remember?
Yes, I remember. I remember that game as well, Tunbridge Wales. Don't want to play there anymore.
No.
I never liked it there.
So I said, come on, this is hard work. Bowling is hard work.
Yeah, I remember.
So you have to bowl even though you might not be feeling great, you might not be bowling great. So that might have been a lesson.
Probably. I think tough love sometimes works.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you did that. It helped me. And you see, the whole team was behind me, the captain, the club.
Yeah.
I remember they put me in this hotel. It's still there or not? Trafford Hotel? Just
down the road. Yeah.
Down the road.
Well, Bob Bennett the chairman used to stay there.
Yeah, so they gave me a room
I don't
there.
think it's still there now.
Nah.
But it was all right at the time.
It was okay. So we went to play away games. We were away for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I came back. They checked me out. I couldn't find my clothes. I said, where are my clothes? They said, we checked you out. I thought you were not coming back. So we had some great stories. But again, when I bought my place here at the time, I remember I must give compliment to this Pakistani Sufi Sadiq. He's still around. Accountant. He says, I'll help you with your accounts and all. I said, ask Lancashire. He said, you buy a house. I said, buy a house? I'm 20 years old. I have no money. What do you mean buy a house? He said, get a mortgage. I said, what's mortgage? Then he explained, you have 6-year contract. So Lancashire gave me a 6-year contract. First time any overseas player got such a long contract.
Yeah.
So that shows the shrewdness of the skipper, Yoza, and of course Alan, that they realized this guy can actually...
Well, those were the golden days of county cricket, being able to sign overseas players long term, because now, of course, there's so much cricket. You
can sign somebody for 2 weeks.
But you were available for us virtually all the time, except when Pakistan were touring England.
Yeah, and because there was cricket was not all year round. It was only Pakistan season from September, October onwards till March.
That's right.
And then county started from April onwards till August, September.
Okay, so county cricket was essential in your formative years.
Yes.
Because you're such a pioneer and because you are one of the best bowlers there's ever been, with the record, you've got over 900 international wickets across one-day internationals and test matches, over 400 in test matches, over 500 in one-day internationals. It wasn't all about just running in and bowling fast. You pioneered the ability to reverse swing the ball, which is now.
And if you remember,
I wouldn't say it's commonplace, but it's a fundamental part of the modern game.
Yeah, it really is. Now it's called reverse swing. It used to be ball tampering then, if you remember.
Well, so they said. But you used to throw me the ball when you were bowling at the other end. I couldn't swing it.
Yeah. You used to bowl this outswing, and suddenly the ball is going towards the next side.
A little bit.
And then eventually you got the hang of it. You said, okay, if it's going in, I'm going to just pitch outside off stump. And I remember the first year when there used to be rain, I used to take Gehan Mendes at nets.
Yes.
And you got me, Paul got me on the side and said, Vaz, listen, I know you're young. There's 6 months to go. So just take it easy.
You used to roar in, didn't you? In the nets. Nobody wanted to face you in the nets because you were unplayable.
But I think nowadays, obviously, mindset has changed. The more you bowl, a lot of youngsters ask me, how should I increase my pace? What to do? It's a very simple answer. The more you bowl, the quicker you'll become. Because your bowling muscle gets strong. And bowling muscle is not just one particular muscle, it's everything in your body. And I think nowadays you bowl 6 deliveries, 8 deliveries, and say 12 deliveries, say, okay, I'm done. Okay, thank you very much. So probably cricket is too much, but mindset has changed over the years, sure.
But reverse swing didn't just happen.
No,
you must have developed this in line with Waqar probably.
Waqar came a little later.
Imran was the one.
Mudassar and Imran.
Yeah.
They were the one who actually taught me how to reverse swing.
And I remember you being absolutely paranoid about keeping the ball dry when we were out there.
The rough side.
Just keep it dry.
Keep it dry.
Don't spit on it. Don't put sweat on it.
Especially the rough side.
Yeah.
And I remember our spinner, very good spinner, Gary Yates.
Yes.
He used to bowl like this.
Yes, he did.
And I had to go at him 3-4 times. I said, you better change your habit, buddy. Because the rough side, if it gets soft, then it won't reverse. The rough side has to be rough and shiny side has to be shiny.
And we had at Lancashire, we had a wonderful 10 years when you were 88 to 98. We won all those one-day games. And you were actually constant in that team, but there were actually two teams because the old guard, like myself, Graham Fowler, Guillaume Mendes, moved on in about 91, 92.
Yes.
And then you had another crop of lads with the Athertons and the Fairbrother was there as well.
As well.
Crawley.
Peter Marin came in.
Chappell,
Peter Martin came in. Chappie came in a little later. Then Bumble, Junior Bumble. Ian Austin, the great man.
Yeah.
What a performer he had been for Lancashire in shorter format.
Who was the guys that stuck out most for you in Lancashire? Who were the guys that you really either admired or got on with, or whatever?
I mean, you guys were seniors. I had always admired you as a senior players. But of course, Harvey Neil Fairbrother is a very good friend of mine. Still, we are in touch. Ian Austin I was very close to. Yeah. I believe he's got a bar now in wherever he's living. Beautiful wine bar.
I think he has.
Yeah, and he's a granddad.
He is, and he sells beer as well.
Oh,
on top
brilliant.
Of that, which he was always destined to do.
Destined to do, absolutely. No, but everyone, I mean, it's difficult to name any, but everyone was so helpful.
Yeah.
And it was fun for me to coming to Lancashire. It was like coming back home, no political thing, no politics in cricket. You come, you play, you go home, you have a good laugh, and the next day you start again.
You said earlier on, right at the start of this was your happiest time.
Yeah.
When you were here, when you were playing here, you probably felt the pressure was off a little bit and you enjoyed playing in county cricket. But surely winning the World Cup in '92 must have been the pinnacle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think for every sportsman is basically ideas to represent your country's team in a World Cup and then winning it. And then, of course, being man of the match. And that too against the mighty England side at the time. They were the most experienced team in the world as far as one-day cricket concerned. But yeah, that was one of the best moments, in fact, the best moment of my life.
What did it feel like? Because there was this aura about you. I remember standing next to Warren Hegg at slip. Warren was
his name.
Yeah, Warren keeping wicket to you, and he must have been one of the best keepers you ever bowled.
Absolutely.
I can't remember him dropping a catch off you.
No,
and
very rare.
You bowled 90 miles an hour and swung it and hooped it round.
He was
corners.
one of the best keepers, I think, who kept on my bowling. He was phenomenal and a great guy as well off the field.
Yeah,
still, he's very helpful, very easygoing, hard worker.
But getting back to you, you had this aura about you, and I know, standing at slip, 20 yards back, watching you run in, there was a fear and a trepidation in the batsman facing you because they didn't know whether you were going to hit them on the toe or on the nose.
On the nose. I think that's what I've learned in county cricket. That's why the experience matters. Playing under different condition matters, and every ground is different in England. Weather is always nice. It's not, I mean, if it's 26 degrees in England, you say it's a heat wave. No, it's not. Heat wave is in Pakistan. Right now it's 41 degrees. Yeah. So that also helped. And remember, we used to have a playing deck as well, and the next deck, next pitch, each side used to be dry as well without the grass. That boys can throw one bounce as well because the reverse swing. So that helped a lot as well. I think even in my book is coming out in November, the Lancashire stories are quite funny and memorable and happy times.
Brian Lara, Ricky Ponting and Viv Richards have all gone on record to say that you were the best bowler they ever faced.
Wow.
That's pretty serious.
That's huge, coming from the greats of the game.
Yeah.
And I think it was because of my quick arm action maybe. And
you were very difficult to pick up.
Yeah.
You had this scampering run.
And I learned,
quick run.
And I learned things as well. I was the only left-hander who went around the wicket, if you remember.
Well, you started this.
Yeah, I started this trend.
You did.
And I used to run. From behind the umpire. I said, why not?
And then leap out.
Yeah, nowadays I see bowlers, even T20 format, they're getting hammered every ball. They don't change anything.
No.
So as a bowler, what's my job is to create a doubt in batsman's mind. If things are not going well, just have your run up diagonal. Just bowl the same delivery you want to, but do something different.
But you were capable of bowling round the wicket and swinging the ball away from the right hand.
Yeah.
Very difficult thing to do as a left-arm bowler.
I think both of these guys. Yeah, I mean nowadays Shaheen Afridi.
Yes.
And then Mitchell Starc.
Yes.
Trent Bolt.
Yes.
These
you
guys
were the
are very
pioneer.
good. Yeah, I started bowling around the wicket, different angle altogether. And as a right-hander batsman, if I'm bowling around the wicket, if you're batting, you have to, with the angle, you think ball's going to come in.
Yeah.
And if it just goes across a bit, every chance to take an edge.
Waz, we could talk for hours, and hopefully you'll come back and we'll do part 2 of this at some point. But just before we go, I talked about the batters who said you were the best. Who was the hardest batsman to bowl at?
You see, I played against great Viv Richards, Brian Lara, Sachin Tendulkar, Alan Border, Graham Gooch, Mike Gatting, Alex Stewart. These are the big names. But I think one of the best was who played against me and Vakar against Wasim was Martin Crowe. He always played us on a front foot. At 93 series, he got 200s out of 3 test matches. Pakistan won 3-0. I got 16 wickets in 2 games. I got injured. Vakar got 30 wickets in 3 test matches. And he got 200s. And I think in England, who really played both of us well with the new ball was Alex Stewart. Because he realized, I have to attack. I can't just block and wait for the semi-new ball. By the time it'll be too late. So yeah, he was also quite difficult, especially. And in one-day cricket, I suppose Brian Lara and all these guys were there, but Gilchrist was the most difficult, especially when there were no bounces.
Waz, it's been fantastic to talk to you. And I hope that you'll come back and talk to us again. You're going to keep coming back to Emirates, Old Trafford? And
Absolutely, any time. I mean, I'm 20 minutes away. Every summer I'm here for a month and a half with my family. My boys are 23 and 21, 24 and 21. They were born here in Wythenshawe Hospital. So they love coming here. They have a lot of memories of their mother as well. So yeah, love coming back, enjoying the weather, enjoying my little town, little Altrincham town. Just walk around, Dunham, Massey. Just love it.
Beautiful. Well, we love having you back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything that you've done for Lancashire and keep coming back.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Life can be extraordinary, unforgettable, amazing. Life is about the joy of being together. It's sharing every moment, indulging your passions, and making memories that stay with you forever. Life is live. The thrill of the game. The buzz of a network, the enrichment and fascination of a cultural soiree. And we feel every sensation because we're right there with you. Always on, always fully engaged to help provide that extra spark, heighten emotions, and make every occasion simply unforgettable. Because the best live events don't just happen to us, they become a part of us. Forever associating your brand with life itself. Live can be extraordinary, and we're ready to help you make the most of every inspired, delicious moment. Welcome to Sedexo Live.
Welcome to the opening day. Oh, that is a wonderful shot.
Hello. So this is Scott Reed and Kevin Hand at Emirates Old Trafford, where the pitch inspection will be taking place at 12:30. I'm not sure what they're going to inspect. It's raining. But maybe this is one step nearer to what is looking increasingly inevitable, that we might not get anything, Kevin, on this first day.
Yeah, miserable scene out there, isn't it? It's do you know, the only hope that we've got is that wind, but I think the forecast is so rough for later in the day that even if it was blowing through early, you can't imagine there'd be the time to dry it out. Unfortunately, yes. It's what's the drying like at Old Trafford?
Very good, excellent drying at Old Trafford. But it's whether, as you say, it's whether there's going to be enough time for us to, in between showers and all the rest of it, for that to even come into the equation. The full covers have been on all morning. It's not been kind of constant rain. It's just been kind of rain on kind of just bands sweeping in every kind of half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. So it's not been constantly raining all morning, but when it has rained, it's absolutely pelted it down.
And how's the pitch been this year? If it were to have a 3-day game, Is it a batting paradise at Old Trafford this year, or?
Oh yeah, just take a look at the scores and the results. I see we're actually playing on the pitch towards the left of the square. We don't often venture out towards the edges of the square here.
Is that a bit too far south for you?
It's a little bit too far south, is that? Yeah. So yeah, we're playing out towards the left as we look from the player and media centre. So they brought the boundary in away to our right in front of the hotels. It's been tricky forcing wins over 4 days here. Yeah, it's been a challenge.
Well, table as it is, realistically, Glamorgan only need a draw and a high-scoring defeat, or even a low-scoring defeat, and they're up in second spot, aren't they? So you never know, that there might be the equal side of that for 3 days maybe they set something up on the final day if it is to be last game of the season. If they were to have 3 full days, then maybe they do decide, well, let's just have a game of cricket. So you never know, never rule it out. But unfortunately, what we do know is there's no play before lunch.
No, that's a certain
as that's gone now. Well, we are at lunch, aren't we? 12:30 now. So the prospect for play before tea doesn't particularly look great, which then for the day itself looks terminal. But we live in hope.
We do. There's nothing elsewhere neither, apart from Surrey. That's the only game that's got any action today. So the delays all around the other Division 2 fixtures. Derbyshire against Glamorgan this week, Gloucestershire against Northamptonshire, and Leicestershire against Kent. There's been nothing in any of those fixtures. And in Division 1 this week, Durham against Worcestershire, Somerset against Hampshire. It's a return of the finals day teams. I've been seen Somerset beat Hampshire on Saturday evening in the Blast final. Those two meet in the Championship at Taunton today. But again, that's been delayed. I think Somerset probably still hungover. Sussex against Yorkshire and Warwickshire against Essex are the other Division 1 games. The one that's the only game that is taking place, it looks lovely actually. Look at some of the pictures from London. Nice and sunny in the capital. Nottinghamshire 75 for 1. Batting first against Surrey with Slater on 36 and McCann on 28. Hamid the only wicket to fall off the bowling of Gus Atkinson. So not 75 for 1. Title decider.
There's been a new addition to Old Trafford since I was here last. When was the last Championship game that we had here then? A couple of years?
Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah.
The rather large extension of the hotel to our right. The Edge, is it called?
Is it?
I think it's called the Edge, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
What, the hotels? Do you mean the restaurant's called the Edge, isn't it?
Maybe the restaurant's the Edge. But is that whole complex? It's as we look across towards the old pavilion to our right. Is that the last week? So they've got is the party stand a temporary stand?
It is.
They built, so they're going to build. Are they going to build another one over there then as well?
No. So that will come down. The party stand. They just leave that open. Because if there's concerts here, they'll put the stage there.
Yeah.
And then
clever.
They'll rebuild the party stand
when
at
they
some
need
point next season, for internationals or the 100 or whatever.
Your birthday.
The hotel, the Grey Hotel, is the newer addition.
Yeah, I'm in there.
Are you in the Grey one?
There, yeah.
Are you got pitch facing?
No. Might have to have a word.
Yeah. Just have a little.
I'd like to sit and watch the rainfall for 4 days from a balcony.
Well, that's the idea. If you were pitch facing, you could just stay there, couldn't you?
I could, yeah. Well, I was tempted to. If I was pitch side, I was tempted to say, "Can I just do phone updates from the bedroom? That'd be all right."
I did say to Sachi, there's zero chance that Kevin's going to come over here until we get any sign of play. I just assumed you're staying in your hotel.
I was tempted to go back to bed, and I still am actually.
Yeah, I thought you might be. Yeah. I think there's supposed to be an inspection, but I'm not sure that's happening because I don't see what.
No.
But
well, the mischievous rumours that a 12:30 inspection while it's raining suggests that they are pessimistic for the day. However, you'd surely have lunch first at least, and then have a think about it.
Yep.
Have a look after lunch. We'll have an inspection at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then maybe it might be done. But unless these skies break up above us here in Old Trafford, but at the moment there's not much hope, is there? Because all around us, as strong a wind as it is, it's pretty set in.
It is, yeah. So I think the umpires and the players are rightly so taking a bit of lunch and then maybe reassessing in the early part of the afternoon.
Do we get lunch?
We do get lunch. Lunch is served.
Do you know what we're having?
I don't know. I don't.
Have a guess.
I'm going to Thai green chicken curries.
Really?
Like yeah, something like that.
Blimey, and we thought it was grim and windy earlier.
On that note, we'll bring you some news as soon as we've got it. But everyone's taking lunch. We'll do the same. Catch you in a bit.
I never really considered playing anywhere else. And, you know, I'm quite happy to go on camera now and say that the schedule for 2023 is unacceptable.
It would be fair to say that your career wasn't smooth.
I think I care about the club. The club's been very good to me.
Was that a conscious decision to go then, or was that in some way forced upon you?
It's a good question, isn't it? I thought that might come up.
Did it take you by surprise, the enormity of the role and the scope of it?
You feel like you can put your points across and it never gets listened to, and who are the chief decision makers around how we try and move forward?
Do you get frustrated the fact that your job here is to promote Lancashire cricket in spite of the ECB demands on you?
I think one of the things I battled my whole career was belief.
Welcome along to our studio high up in the Player and Media Centre at Emirates Old Trafford for another edition of Beyond the Boundary. I'm delighted to say that this time I've got alongside me Mark Chilton, who has been associated with the club now since the late 90s as a player, opening batsman, captain for 2 or 3 seasons through the early 2000s, and in various coaching capacities over his time at the club. And he's now Director of Cricket Performance. Welcome along, Mark. It's good to have you along.
Thanks, Paul.
You were born in Sheffield. I didn't realise that. You keep that one quiet. But your formative years were spent no more than 5 miles away down the road at Sale.
That's right. Yeah. Not my choice to be born over there, but yeah, Mum and Dad was working over there at the time, so I came to Sale when I was 1. Yeah, which is just down the road, as you say. So I was never been a million miles away from this place, and yeah, I suppose it all started at quite an early age, just down the road on the streets of Sale.
So yeah, closely tied to Emirates Old Trafford, or Old Trafford as it was in those days. You were educated at Manchester Grammar, and that probably formed the earliest link with Lancashire Cricket Club at that time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you may or may not know that Manchester Grammar was part of the old Lancashire boundary. Well, this is always my understanding of it. And that gave us a route into Lancashire cricket. So as much as Sale is a Cheshire postcode, and I did represent Cheshire at a couple of year groups because it went out of the school system. Obviously back in the day it was Lancashire schools, and therefore if you were associated to a Lancashire school, even one that was within the old Lancashire boundary, we had ways of getting involved. And obviously David Moss, who still works with us, to be fair, was my cricket master at Manchester Grammar, and he was the person who essentially really drove that process and got me into the trial system. I remember going to Bolton School for the trial for under 13s, I think it was, so quite quickly after I'd started at Manchester Grammar, and yeah, got into that team many years ago. You got into that age group system then. Who were your contemporaries? Yeah, so, well, interestingly, I'm the same year in age as Phil Neville, so at that age group, Phil was already pretty well established. There'd been a Lancashire Schools under-11s team, which I hadn't been part of. So Phil was comfortably the best player, and I ended up opening the batting with him during that season. Andrew Flintoff came on the scene quite quickly, really. He was involved at Lancashire under-11s as well, so he obviously was a very promising young player as well, and he would play a year up. So he was in that team a little bit as well. So yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, Phil was an excellent cricketer. You know, would he have made it, do you think? Well, on the evidence, I mean, we'll get at that. Yeah, I mean, on the evidence we had, yeah, comfortably, really. I mean, he was sort of streets ahead of a lot of us at that age, really. I mean, physically he was quite well developed, and he was strong, and he was quick. I think he carried on playing for a couple of years, didn't he? But even by the time he finished at 15s, he was still a very, very good player. So he was outscoring me on a regular basis, and I suppose I was doing all right. He bowled quite quick at that age as well. I mean, I know he didn't. I don't know whether he'd developed into an effective seamer, but he certainly had real potential with the bat. Yeah. From a personal point of view, then, being fortunate enough and bright enough to go to Manchester Grammar, and to be good enough to represent Lancashire schools, there was a balance, presumably, between maintaining a sporting enthusiasm and your academic
qualities and skills. Where did that sit? Were your parents very involved with that, making sure that you had a good grounding in education? Did that come from school as well?
I never felt any pressure from any of that, really. I just think I had very supportive parents, regardless of what I wanted to do. I played a lot of football when I was a kid as well, and really up to the age of about 16, football would have been my #1 sport. So, you know, balancing football, cricket and academic in that day was fairly normal. Lots of people did it. Manchester Grammar was a fabulous place to do that, and you know, you got such good quality teaching and great support around all of it that it never really, I never felt like I was picking and choosing. I never sacrificed any sport for my studies. You just learn probably from an early age that, you know, you had to be reasonably time efficient and make sure you didn't, you know, waste too much time. But I got so much pleasure out of playing sport that I never saw that as a chore. I never saw training for sport as a chore. And you just try and do as well as you can at your academic stuff as you go along, really. So I just had a lot of people who were very supportive of that process. And I mean, David to this day was you know, he was instrumental in helping that support sort of happen through those years, really.
It was good balanced grounding then. You took the university route out of school. Was there ever a thought that you were good enough or could come straight to Lancashire from school?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. That I think at the time, no. You know, I think one of the things I battled my whole career was belief. Really, is believing that you're good enough to actually be there. And certainly at that time at that age, 17 or 18, I knew I was good because you in comparison to your peers, you were performing well. But it certainly wasn't nailed on for me at all. And I think the two key instances really: the under-19 cricket festival in Cambridge, which you'll probably remember. You ran for many years, and all the counties would go down there. John Stanworth was the coach of that team. David was the manager. John Stanworth was the coach, and I had a really strong week down there on quite difficult pitches. And I suppose I felt like I played at a good level there. You know, I knew who my contemporaries were nationwide, and I was competing with them, I suppose. And I think on the back of that, John certainly thought, right, we might have something here. And I think it sort of played out where John probably recommended me higher up then. But by that stage, I was already geared to go to Durham Uni. So really, I hadn't really given it much of a thought.
It's an interesting one because, of course, at that time there was no academy, so there was no. It was straight out of the school system.
Yeah.
And if you were good enough, and there were very few that were, you got a professional contract. So in a way, by going to university and playing at a really good cricketing university like Durham, that helped your cricketing development as well as everything else, of course.
Yeah, hugely. You know, it was such an important part of my development, really, for the very reasons that you've just said. If I'd have come out of school at 18, I probably wasn't quite ready to mix it with the staff that was currently happening. It didn't happen very often that. You had to be an exceptional 18-year-old to really push yourself into that professional squad. And that's why, you know, even to this day, I'm still a supporter of the university system, because it gave you the opportunity to carry on studying and learn other things. But it also gave you a bit of time. And the academy system, you know, we try and get players ready a little bit earlier now, but you know as well as I do that 18, 19, 20 stage, you know, you never quite sort of know when you're going to be ready for it. And my experience at Durham was the second sort of big catalyst to me generating enough belief in myself and probably improving my play to a point where I actually felt confident that I think I can do this. You know, Graham Fowler, you know, an old friend of yours, was hugely influential during that period, largely built around belief, really, just saying you're good enough to do this. And that sort of experience, I started to think, you know what, I think I can mix it with other professional cricketers.
So when did the light switch get flicked then? When was the time? I mean, you obviously performed well at Durham and enough to keep Lancashire interested.
Yeah.
Presumably playing second team cricket in the holidays, etc. So when was the moment that you thought, I'm going to give it a go?
Yeah, I don't.
Or when did they come and say, we'll give you the opportunity?
Yeah, well, I don't actually remember a specific moment. I mean, that's quite a funny story, really, because I had applied to do business economics at uni, so it was all set to sort of get my head around that. But the first weekend I went to college, so I'd been at college for a week at Grey College up in Durham. Bumble phoned my dad, so David Lloyd, who was the coach, phoned my dad and said we'd like to take him onto a summer contract. So the first weekend I was at university, I phoned home at the weekend and they said Lancashire have been on and they want to offer you a summer contract. So from that moment on, really, so that was my first year at Durham, I was very much, right, I've got a chance here. And, you know, essentially I knew that I was going to carry on studying as a normal student, play for Durham, but then in the summer I had Lancashire to go back to. So, you know, as much as I suppose my studies might have suffered a little bit, because really from that moment on I thought, right, I've got a chance now, I've got an opportunity, and I think my majority of my focus sort of went into then trying to be a pro cricketer.
Well, if it's anything like me, and I was similarly at Durham, it's about the best time of your life, isn't it? Because from April onwards, you're supposedly at university, but you're playing cricket for uni and whatever else, and then after that you're playing second team cricket for Lancashire. So you've got the best of all worlds at a very early age.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I see it. I had a wonderful experience there. I mean, again, you know, mixing it with lots of other players who went on and had great careers. And I suppose there were three things I did at university. They would try and be a professional cricketer was the first one, socialise, and then work, and in that order. And really, it was a great time, and we were blessed really there. We had good facilities. The professional coach came in, so Graham got the job in my second year. So all the funding that came from the MCCU went into the universities in my second year. So we then had a full-time coach who was available to us. So, you know, lots of things happened for me around that period that were pretty instrumental and gave me a really good chance, I suppose. And then once you've got that opportunity, you've got to then take it. And I suppose with regards to a light switch moment for me, I know I wasn't the greatest player of all time, but what I was always able to do was I was just able to step up each time. So every time, so when I came back into Lancashire 2s in the summer, I started to perform well quite quickly. I had success at Durham University against the counties, so I was always able to just go that level up. And when I got into the first team quite early, you know, I performed quite well early on. And I suppose you think, right, I can do this. And you know, I suppose Test cricket was always out my reach a little bit. Or maybe I didn't ultimately believe I was good enough to play at that level, but I had enough belief to have a decent career with Lancs.
And you did just that. You forged a very good career as a batsman for Lancashire over a number of years, averaging over 32, I think, through your career. But it would be fair to say that your career wasn't smooth. It wasn't as smooth. You weren't always inked into the first team. You had peaks and troughs, sorry, in your career. One year, I think 2008, you were in and out of the side quite a lot. So looking back, has that experience of the ups and downs and the experience that you've outlined going through school and university, has that put you in a good position, do you think, in your coaching and now your performance director roles?
I suspect so, but you know, what do you compare that against? You know,
well, it gives you an example of having good times and bad times, which everybody has to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, certainly understanding what it feels like to be 12th man quite often, understanding to go to bed the night before a game and not know whether you're playing or not. You know, I was never an absolute shoe-in for periods of my career. Experiencing the challenges of professional cricket, which the majority of cricketers would experience, but when you're an opening batter, sometimes that sort of feels even worse. You feel for however many overs and you go out and get a duck in the whatever, you know, you do ask yourself, what am I doing here?
What am I doing this? Yeah.
So, you know, as well as I do, you know as well as I do, it's an emotional roller coaster at times, what we did. And, you know, I don't regret any of it. There were some challenging times, I think it gives me probably gives me a sense of balance, but to be honest, I probably think I've always had that anyway. So I think I've always had a balanced perspective on life and how to approach things. I've always been quite observing of any environments I've been in to pick up whatever skills I now have to help me with the roles I've done. And I'm still trying to learn that all the time, I suppose. So I'm sure it probably will have helped, but then it probably helps being a world-class player because they have experiences that I don't have. So, you know, look at what McCullum and Stokes are doing with the England team now. So it's all relative to your own context, I think, and you just got to understand your strengths and weaknesses and what your possible gaps are, I think.
I think if anybody wants to understand the commitment and the belief and the feeling you have for Lancashire, they only have to trawl through the archives and look back to that 2007 county championship year when Lancashire went into the final game leading the county championship, just got pipped at the post and couldn't quite beat Surrey. I remember I did the interview with you for Sky, and I remember you being in tears. Yeah. And I thought, well, I was choking back I wasn't quite choking back the tears, but it was a hugely emotional moment for you. And I've not really interviewed many people in tears before, but that just told me exactly what it meant to you.
Yeah, and I suppose when you're in charge and you're the captain, you're also carrying it for the team as well, and everyone who was associated with the club at the time, all the members and everybody. It was Lancashire winning the championship was something that we just hadn't done for years and years and years. So you felt that responsibility, and I suppose, yeah. I mean, I think the thing I'm most proud of, Paul, above everything is, and this was the one. My dad was an average cricketer, but the one thing he used to say was you just got to do your best, and you never know when you're beaten, basically. So you just got to give your all. And the one thing I can sit here and comfortably say is that every time I walked onto the field, whether I was fielding or batting, I tried my best, and I'm very comfortable with that. And really, I suppose it does sometimes that manifests itself in those moments. I'm not a massively emotional person, but that I genuinely thought we were going to do it that day. I think that's what I found that interview very difficult, because for 90% of the day I thought we're going to do this, and then it was just taken away from us at the end.
But that drive, that ambition, that emotion, you carry that through, I think, in your roles now that I've seen when you've been coaching and you were performance manager and now director of cricket performance. I think it'd be fair to say you carry that philosophy with you.
Yeah, and I think I care at the end of the day. I think I care about the club. The club's been very good to me from since I was 13 years old. From the moment I've started playing for the club, I've got such joy and reward out of being involved with Lancashire cricket that it's almost it's a non-negotiable for me to just have that attitude towards the club and the team. And I think when you're really invested in it, you just want to see everyone involved in it and get the rewards for a lot of the hard work. I think that's an element of it as well. Really, is you see, take now for example, you see the effort that goes in behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, from either the coaches or even the players when they're not on the pitch. And everyone who's involved around it, all the people at the club who work hard to provide as much support and resource for us as possible. And that's why last year was a bit crushing, really, because all you want to do is get over the line and win, because that it just brings so many people a lot of satisfaction, and a lot of people, in my view, they deserve that feeling and success. So.
You finished your career on a team high after the 2011 County Championship win, and was that a conscious decision to go then, or was that in some way forced upon you? Was it the county that didn't re-engage you, or was it a conscious decision?
I'd probably made that decision a few weeks out, so there was probably a glimmer of hope that maybe either I would get offered new terms, or I never really considered playing anywhere else. I think that was. I remember walking off at Egbert against Warwickshire, and Dad used to work down in the docks at Runcorn, and he used to come to Egbert a bit. And I remember speaking to him after that game. I hadn't had a great game, and I just sort of said, "I'm done." I think I can remember it now, and that was about 6 weeks to go. And I remember sitting with Lee Richardson, our performance psychologist, who was desperately trying to look at the positives of where I was at, and I just said, "Look, there's nothing you can say now." And I think in my head now, I've been through that roller coaster, and it was quite important for me that it might have been a few weeks. It'd be interesting to see what the date was, because at that point, I just then decided that the club and the team was onto something a bit bigger than me. And at the back end of your career, that's quite difficult to do as a player, because you want your career to carry on as long as possible. You're earning money, you've got a family to look after. But I remember sort of finding a bit of peace with that in a way, and just going, right, all that matters now is that I can give what I can give to the cause, and because I'd much rather just, if we can finish on that high, then I'll be able to walk away pretty comfortable or very happy from it all. And that's essentially, so I'd sort of got over it with about 2 months to go, I think. Okay. Yeah. So. You
were well educated, obviously you got a degree at Durham, you'd been to Manchester Grammar School. At what point did you start thinking about what am I going to do next? Was it always going to be coaching? Because you're a level 4 qualified coach now. Yeah. I'm not sure you were at the end of your career.
Yeah.
Your playing career.
That's right, yeah. Was it always going to be coach? No, not really. No, I suppose I'd tried a few things. I'd always had a bit of an eye on other things. I worked in a bank for 6 months, and certainly I was able to scratch that one off. I didn't fancy doing that for the next 20 years. So Morsey was quite a big influence. Pete was quite a big influence. I suppose when Pete came, I really saw. I know I'd talked about there have been influences throughout my career, and Graham was one of them at Durham. But I suppose Pete was someone who I really saw the value in real expert elite coaching.
He took it to a different level. I mean, I remember when he came here, I was on the interview panel, and he just blew us all away in interview. It was just a completely different approach. And coaching's evolved very quickly, actually, rapidly over the last 20 years, certainly.
Well, certainly my experience of working with him for 3 years, after that difficult year in 2008, I then went on and became Player of the Year 2009, and that was, Pete was a hugely important part of that, really. So I suppose I really started to think and believe in the power of good elite coaching and what difference it could make. And obviously, but opportunities were becoming, I suppose, more available within the professional game. So ultimately, that's where I ended up going. Yeah, I ended up going down, doing my qualifications, but having some time out as well at Manchester Grammar, which was also a really useful period for me.
But I sense there are steps in the Mark Chilton progression here. That it isn't purely cricket, because you didn't go from school to cricket. You went to university, you got a degree. You played cricket, but you did other things. You then got a level 4 coaching qualification, but that wasn't enough. You went and did a master's in sports directorship, I think. So there's always been something behind the progression. It might be sport orientated, but it's not just purely cricket. Would that be right?
Yeah, it probably would be right, yeah. And part of that is just an appetite to learn and improve, really, I suppose. Certainly the Masters, again, was an opportunity that I thought, right, this looks quite interesting. And as much as I was enjoying the coaching and the practical side of coaching, I suppose I did look at myself and think, what strengths have I got? And, management and managing people and leadership to a degree was something that I was interested in learning more about. So again, that was the people you meet through that process, and I suppose you're right in some way that there was always part of me that I wasn't necessarily just sticking my flag to the mast of being a batting coach, and as much as I enjoy the practical side of coaching, I suppose there were other interests that I wanted to explore. I mean, what I've never done, Paul, which is, you know, goes against the grain a lot of the time, is I've never really set goals for myself. So I don't sit here. I certainly didn't sit in 5 years ago and say I wanted your job. You know, it's not how I viewed it. It wasn't the case, and I've never done that. I didn't do it with my cricket, and I don't do it now. I don't sit here now thinking what next. I'm more about just learning through the experience of what I'm doing, and seeing what opportunities might happen. And really, you know, through your support, I got the chance to do a performance director role, which led me just branched me off batting coaching, and I started to have to think about structures and systems, and then I was lucky enough to get your role, which has opened a whole world of new challenges and learning experiences. And I suppose in some ways I find that quite what's the word I'm looking for? Stimulating, I suppose. I find that quite mentally stimulating, that I'm learning all the time, whether it's HR, whether it's jobs, whether it's contracts, budgets. You know, you're quite right that I don't necessarily see myself just a single point of skill set. I'm quite willing to sort of experience different things.
I think it's a good job that you don't plough a single furrow, especially in the role that you're in now, because let's talk a little bit about that now. It's essentially director of cricket in all but named director of cricket performance, and that is a relatively modern role within the game. All these roles have suddenly appeared: head coach, different types of coaching, specialist coaching. They were never around 20, 30 years ago, nor was a director of cricket. So director of cricket performance, you obviously went into that role knowing the broad brushstrokes of the job. But I would think that within 2 or 3 weeks of taking on the role, you'd be thinking, this is interesting. Not quite what I envisaged. Did it take you by surprise, the enormity of the role and the scope of it?
I suppose in some ways, yeah, it probably did. I mean, I try not to have too many judgments about anything, really. It's just not how I'm very much a here and now person. But I suppose, you know, reflecting on it now, absolutely, there are elements of the job which you'll be well aware that you think, oh crikey, I didn't. But then, you know, I don't know why I didn't think that, because ultimately, when you're leading on a department, ultimately everything comes up to you. You know, you're in charge of a group of people, a number of people across different areas, and therefore, you know, it's going to throw up lots of different challenges. And in some ways, you know, you've done the role. You're a CEO of the cricket department. That's what you are. You know, we've obviously got a CEO of the business, and I sit on the executive of the club, but in the cricket department, it all ultimately funnels up to myself, and therefore you are operating and you're leading on that area. So all sorts comes your way, and you know, I suppose one thing I'm still wrestling with is just finding enough time to really drill down at the performance side of the cricket. But ultimately, we've got a very experienced, knowledgeable head coach who's able to. I'm able to offload that a lot of that responsibility onto. But I would like to be able to step away sometimes to do a bit more of that strategic thinking around, right, how can we keep driving the performance side of what we do better? Which, you know, at the minute I just need to find a bit more time to do that.
There's a lot of talk in all sports about improvement through small margins and the minutiae of approach through coaching, psychology, performance, whatever you like to say. Have you had time in the last 12 months to have a look at that aspect of things and see which of the smaller aspects that may be very important but that need more attention to detail?
Yes and no, I suppose, and where I come to with a lot of that is that this is still about people, what we do. So as much as there are data and there are 1%ers, you know, getting the best out of the people that you've got is really important for me, I think, and to really think about, have we got the right people in the right roles? the people know exactly what is expected of them? Have they got the support and resource that they need to do their jobs as well as they can? You know, essentially, I think that's a fundamental part of this role, is looking at the people we've got involved and ensuring that that is working as efficiently and effectively as it can, because more often than not, that's pretty hard to do. And that in itself is a core part of this job, is getting the team you've got working as effectively and efficiently, because they'll find the 1%ers. I think if you give them some accountability and responsibility, and you give them the support and you give them some clarity, they'll be the people who will find the 1%, 2%, 3%ers. It won't just all be on me. It'll be on all of us to say, right, you know, let's look at what we're doing, and you only get to that point by being able to manage that group of people effectively. That's essentially how I see it. Yes, there'll be things out there that, you know, even talking to Glenn this morning, you know, I had a meeting with Glenn this morning. His experience in Abu Dhabi in the last 2-3 weeks has just created new conversations for us to have. And that's really what you're looking for all the time, is to just tap into people's knowledge. And we've got so many great staff here, which you know, we're blessed with some brilliant staff across the cricket department and across the science and medical team, across the grounds team. And for me, it's almost trying to get the best out of that, and that's where you'll get your extra 1%, 2%, 5%, as much as my learning away from here. So,
I think that, yeah, you sum that up very nicely. Do you get frustrated, or have you come to terms with the fact that your job here at Lancashire is to promote Lancashire cricket and to try and achieve the best you can for Lancashire cricket, but you are doing it in spite of the ECB demands on you in terms of players?
Well, the short answer would be yes. So there are times when there is a degree of frustration where no matter how well you do your role, or you perceive yourself you do well, you know, you might think you're doing everything, you're covering all your bases, you are still at the mercy of some other decision makers and some other issues that might arise that really impact your environment. We are not a, you know, look at, gosh, name any other sports team really. You know, just go across the road to Man United. You know, Man United and the manager and the sporting directors of Manchester United, they're not having to manage the Man United fitting into another system. They're just, Man United, how can we get the best out of this club? We as a club, we are, and understandably and rightly so, we have a responsibility towards English cricket as well. You know, we do. That's one of our roles as a county, and therefore, whereas, you know, Ten Hag's not that bothered about England's performance in this World Cup, is it? It doesn't make any difference to him. All he's bothered about is his players and trying to maximise. So he's in a control of a lot of it. American football teams, you know, all the coaches, the great books you read from the American football. It's a very closed environment that they know what they've got. If they do this, this and this, they've got a great chance of succeeding this. I feel in cricket we can do a lot of that stuff, and we are doing a lot of that stuff, but you're still at the mercy of, well, if we do that stuff, we develop really good cricketers, and then they go and play for another team. And Lancashire sort of don't benefit from that in one way, but we benefit in other ways, and we have to sort of accept our position in it all. Seeing what England have done over the last 24 hours is brilliant. You know, anyone who likes cricket and anyone who's involved at a county club should be very proud of that and seeing that, and we all play our small part in that.
Is there an onus on counties to start playing red ball cricket like England are?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? I thought that might come up. Is there an onus on it? I think I listen to a lot of how England are playing. And what I really love about it is I love their intention. So I love the fact that Stokes, he sees a responsibility to play entertaining cricket. And I think it's just, the debate comes, well, what is entertaining cricket? And it's not always necessarily, but, you know, changing round and hitting left-handed and scoring at 7 runs and over. You know, we've all been in the game long enough to know that entertaining cricket can make can take very different guises
Yeah.
and forms. But I think that should be our intention. I think, you know, red ball cricket for me is the purest form of the game. It would be a travesty if that diminishes. So therefore, we all have a responsibility to make the red ball game appealing. And I agree with Stokes that really he's prepared to risk losing to ensure that the game, to give himself the best chance of winning, but also to try and create a product that is exciting for people to watch. And you know, lots of people would have tuned into yesterday's game, and if it had been a boring draw, lots of people wouldn't. And I think that's brilliant what they're doing, and I think we all have a responsibility to do that. What it actually looks like with regards to how you play on the field, that's where the debate lies. Because if everyone starts swinging, trying to score at 7-8 and over when the ball's doing a bit in April, we don't quite know how that's going to play out. But the intent should be to play positive, exciting cricket that people will enjoy watching.
Would that have formed part of your discussion with Glenn that you just had?
We didn't. We only had half an hour today, so no. Yeah, I mean.
Or will it then?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I certainly won't be making any suggestions on how I think we should be doing it. I think it's something we just need to be very aware of, because all the modern players will now be thinking, oh right, well there's one way of doing this and there's one way of getting in this team, and for me there's not necessarily that. You know, again, it's about, you know, how we're going to manage this process where you see an England team and all the players just waxing lyrical about what a great environment it is to have that freedom. Great, get all of that, and I'm on board with all of that. But how does that transfer into your environment when, you know, you've got a developing group of players, you've got some young players in that team who are still trying to develop. So I think, you know, we should have the intention that this is how we want to try and operate, but we also need to be smart, and we need to be, you know, we need to be able to manage, well, when can be really positive. And I think that's what Stokes I think that's what he's doing really well, is he's picking his moments to be properly gung-ho. When he needed to get over the line in the T20 and the 50 over World Cup, he did it another way. And he did it, you know, and that he's an absolute champion, to be fair. I think what he's achieved in the last 2 years is incredible. But I love the intent, Walt.
Yeah, he's certainly a phenomenal individual. Just shifting slightly, what input could you have in terms of formulating the schedule and structure of English county cricket? Do you have an input as a director of performance? How influential are the directors of cricket around the country in shaping the future form of the game, which is imminent, basically? We know what it's going to be for 2023, but it needs to be adjusted.
Yeah. Well, obviously not hugely. I mean, you know the answer to that
question,
which is
well,
why
it's
you've asked
banging
me.
your head against a brick wall, basically.
I
just wonder if that brick wall that I felt was there when I has become less brick-like, if you like. Maybe there's one or two holes in it, or there's a chance of getting in there.
Ultimately, I don't know what I know what you're alluding to around. You feel like you can put your points across and it never gets listened to, and who are the chief decision makers around how we try and move forward. There are just so many different views. I've very much got the support of the club. So the club have looked at me to drive our decisions around the schedule. I don't think every club is doing that, for one. You know, I think, you know, really it should, in my view, it should be a directors of cricket debate, really, to try and find the appropriate schedule for high performance. Obviously acknowledging that chief execs and chairmen have an important part of in that debate, but the fact that we didn't get the HPR even closely, we didn't even get it close to getting supported, is sort of an indication that actually are the cricket people the key drivers behind the decision making? Possibly not. And you know, I'm quite happy to go on camera now and say that the schedule for 2023 is unacceptable. It is. So we haven't been able to get the HPR through. There's been no change to 2023. There are elements of it that are improved. But if you look at our schedule through May and through into June, you know, no high-performing team can operate at 100% all through that period. If you're really talking about raising standards and really trying to drive high performance through that environment, it's not going to happen. There's no time. So there's no time to reflect and review and prepare. So it just depends where the compromise is, and I hope that there'll be more discussions prior to April 23, because we need to know what we're playing for next season. That's been talked about, and that's important. And I'd just like to see some compromise, and I hope that cricket's voice is taken very seriously, as opposed to just making sure we have 18 successful businesses.
Finally then, from a Lancashire perspective, are you happy where the cricket club is at the moment in terms of its age group performance levels, its academy, and its men's and women's professional setup? It's a bit of a long question, that, but in less than 100 words.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, yeah. I mean, I know we worked closely on it when you were in the role as well, so I think this has been, where we are now has been the build-up of 4, 5, 6 years' work. I think we've both recognised that there are key areas where we've made quite a significant difference and impact. I think coming second in every competition, as much as it's disappointing, that shows you're doing a lot of good things right. I think the women's game is that's growing all the time. I'm really excited by the new signings. I think that can be really healthy for a team sometimes, as much as we've got a lot of passion for developing our own cricketers. I think bringing people in from the outside at the appropriate time can just kickstart and really give a catalyst to an environment. So I'm quite keen to see how that progresses, and we'll always be expecting big things there. So on the whole, the short answer to that question is yeah, I'm very happy. As much as I think there are areas that we just got to keep working on, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Mark, thanks very much. 1 year into your role, you've had a fundamental impact already. Long may that continue.
Cheers, thank you.
Hi and welcome along to Emirates Old Trafford with me, Paul Allott, for another edition of Beyond the Boundary. This week I'm delighted to say that we have got the Managing Director of England Men's Cricket with us in the studio. It's a very warm welcome to Rob Key. Rob, great to see you. I didn't think I'd ever see you in this role, to be perfectly honest, having worked with you in various locations around the country, commentating for Sky. But here you are, and I must say that now we're into July, you've had a very interesting and successful start to your career or your new career. What was it that finally made you take the role?
I did. Well, you didn't think I'd do this. If you'd have asked me this at Christmas time, I'd have thought, what are you talking about? There's no chance I'd be on the other side of the fence being an administrator. I mean, I love doing the job I had for Sky. I never thought in a million years. The only reason I thought I wouldn't be doing that is if I'd got sacked, to be honest, or I'd done something, or whatever had happened. So it was sort of after the Ashes, and it's like we used to do it all the time, and you're always sitting around because we love cricket. And we'd be in the back of the commentary box and be trying to work out, what would you do? You do this, or why don't we do this, or why don't they do that? And then it was sort of Strauss, he'd asked me if I would be interested in the role, and I sort of thought, yeah, I suppose so. But never really thought that anything would come of it. But the thing that I suppose was the defining factor in it all was that now I feel like you've got some skin in the game. Now I feel, when you're on TV, you're coming up with a lot of ideas, but really you might never know if they work or not. And you're never really sort of under pressure in that regard to see if your views have any meaning or if they're right. And what I felt is that on this side of the fence, you're going to be tested, it's going to be a challenge, but also you've got a chance to do some good for English cricket. And I suppose that was the overriding factor, really. It was just to see if I could do any good in the game, if I could actually help out on that side of it.
Was there a deep breath moment or a gulp when you actually realised, I am actually doing this job now, so now I've got to really perform and I've got to put those thoughts that I have into action, into practice?
I think when I was on the train that first day, because working in TV again, there's a lot of time you're very, very busy. There's a lot of time when you're off as well. And then all of a sudden I thought, hang up, I'm going to be sort of flat out now. And I was on the train from Canterbury or Ashford to London on that first day, just after Easter, and I'd sort of said to Tom Harrison, yeah, I'll do it. I'll start on Tuesday. That was the Thursday I said I'd do it. So 4 or 5 days later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this now. And then you sort of go into Lords and you get in, right, this is how it all works. And there was no one really in because either they're hybrid working or people are on leave for Easter. And I remember thinking, do you know what? I've no idea what this job actually is. But the greatest thing, I suppose, is the position that England are in, where Ashley Giles, Chris Silverwood, Graham Thorpe were no longer there. There was no national selector. So it was very clear, actually. It didn't really matter. All the administrative side of stuff I didn't have to worry about at that point, because I had to find coaches, find a captain, and then still we're looking for a selector, but I'll get round to that. So there was a very sort of clear focus on what I had to do. So it wasn't too bad.
No, and the best point, I suppose, perhaps the worst point, depends how you look at it, was that you were starting, as you've said, with a clean slate, but you were starting with England at a very low position in red ball cricket, because they'd had a horrendous winter, and as you've said, lost the higher ranking individuals, either had been removed before you came along, and you had no captain. So, from your point of view, the only way is up.
Well, and that was the same actually when we're interviewing coaches, because what we didn't do was say, right, we think you're going to be white ball, you're going to be red ball. We just sort of asked the field, you know, and people obviously applied for the job, and so.
Well, sorry for interrupting, but you say that now because it's pretty self-evident that's. But did you really, truly, and honestly go in with a completely open mind? And we'll talk specifically about Brendan McCullum, because he had no pedigree as a red ball coach. He didn't have much pedigree as a coach. He coached in T20 franchises. So you say that now, but really, did you honestly think, I'm going to walk out of this room and Brendan McCullum's going to be my red ball coach?
Well, very early on, I thought that Brendan McCullum was one of the front runners for me. You know, forget about what everyone else thought. I always thought Brendan McCullum, but even before I was doing this job, I always thought, and I knew him a little bit, not a lot actually. We'd done a bit of commentary together, and I'd watched and I'd listened to the Cowdrey lecture, and I'd watched what New Zealand did. And all you ever really want, I think, in anything, is you want people who are aligned to your philosophy and the way you think, and the way that you think the game should be played. And I was very clear on that, and that's what I wanted. And then you sit down and you interview, and there's loads of interviews we did with lots of different people, and you sort of work out who's most attuned to what you think. Because if you don't have that alignment in anything, then there's real trouble. I think that's where problems come. If you have a coach and captain who aren't aligned, if you have a managing director who's not aligned, if there's someone who has a different way of doing things, and that doesn't mean you can't challenge each other and have disagreements. That's not it at all. But your basic philosophy is the same, and that's what Brendan McCullum had. I had two choices. I saw it. I either had the England team in Test cricket needed someone who was going to be really tough on them, really hard, be like a drill sergeant, who was going to give no quarter, or they needed someone who was going to try and take the pressure off and try and get the best out of them in that way, not by being soft on them. Because actually Brendan McCullum takes no quarter at all. If there's anything that he's not happy with, then he's going to make sure he will pull those people up on it. But it was about how do you get the best out of these people, and that was my view. And that's when I spoke with Brendan, that's exactly how he saw it as well. And that was my sort of theory. I felt that England cricketers had a lot of people, and this is our culture, telling them what you can't do. Oh, I'll be careful of this. Don't do that. Oh, you can't do that. The problem is that's not particularly inspiring. And Brendan McCullum is the opposite of that. He sort of tries to broaden your horizons to what you can do.
So you had this debonair, dashing blueprint whirring around in your mind, thinking, this is really the way I want English red ball cricket to go. And Brendan McCullum was the man that sparked that for you? Or did you spark it and see him as being the ideal, well, he can't be a catalyst, but innovator, if you like?
Well, yeah, he's the one. The only thing I would say, and that's why both of us, Brendan and myself, it's not I'm against it at all, but we don't use the Bazball comment, because what it's not, to me, you said it there, it is not about just playing shots and being aggressive. It's actually, how do you get seriously talented cricketers to make the most? You just get out of their way a little bit and you try and free them up in a world now where there are so many people telling you what you can't do, whether that's in whatever you do, whether you're in politics or anything, and it's in our culture a bit, where I found it actually really fascinating. So we played against New Zealand in a manner, in a style, which actually Joe Root wasn't slogging. Johnny Bairstow, people, they haven't been slogging in that regard.
You could have lost a couple of those games just as easily as you've ended up winning them.
Absolutely.
Let's be realistic about it.
Absolutely, but it's not about just going out there and being ultra aggressive. And what I found really interesting was that, so we won against New Zealand, and then straight away I was like, yeah, but that won't work against India. And it won't work against.
Who was telling you that?
No, in the media, you sort of read and everything, you know. And but that's what I think we do. That's what I do.
They're going to get their comeuppance. It's all going to go wrong.
Which there's every chance that might happen. But why are we getting so far ahead of ourselves? Let's concentrate and focus on what we can control now, today, which is very much Brendan and Stokes' thing. It's like, let's go out and entertain people today, not worry about the future. And it's the same thing, you know, we've got our plans in mind, and there's a hell of a lot of thought that goes into what these guys have done. And it's the same thing, you know, and then it's like, we beat India, and it's like, now it's, yeah, but this won't work against Australia. And it's like, no, okay, it might not, but that's not an inspiring message to give. That's fine for everyone else to be talking about that. But in our dressing room, we've got to be talking about what people can do, how you can succeed, what is possible, not living in this world that we do a bit of, oh yeah, but you can't do this. Yeah, but you can't hit on the up. You can't do that to so-and-so. It's like, all right, guys, yeah, we know that.
Excuse the pun then. What is the key to exploring this self-expression for the players? Because it's the same players that were played through the winter in a completely different environment, obviously, but they've been allowed to come out and express themselves. How have you managed to turn that?
Well, what I would say is that's my theory. How Brendan and Stokesy have done it really is the key, and it's little things. It's how do you give people confidence? The game, as you know, as everyone who's played any sport knows, we're different players when we're confident. You know, look at the white ball side here. We've had a tough time against tough oppositions, you know, but they're just lacking that little bit of confidence. But that will come back, and they'll fly again because there's some seriously good players in that. And I watched, so it's the language and the terminology that's used in the dressing room from them. It's not a negative, you know, oh, be careful of this, watch out for that, don't do this on here. And it's little things really, like Alex Lees, for example, who had played fairly in a stodgy manner in the Caribbean. And he got 20 odd in the second innings at Lord's. And Joe Root had played brilliantly. Joe Root had won the game with a fantastic 100. You know, and a game that was in the balance, and Ben Foakes had played really well. So it was obvious that those guys had been the standouts. But Stokes, he sort of made a real point with Alex Lees in the dressing room afterwards, and just like, Alex, the way you went and played there, that intent you showed, that's what we want. That's the best I've ever seen you play for England. So they're giving full clarity on how they want someone to play, which actually, if you look at it, at times when I was playing, we lived in a world where coaches were constantly saying, don't play that shot. You know, if you look to leave, you know, just don't play outside off stump, just leave that ball. But when you do that, the best way, as we all know, to do it is to think positively about it, to look to score and then leave. And it's that sort of thing that they've been talking about. And the same with Johnny, who actually had played a big shot at Lord's in the second innings. He came out playing, shot a ball, and he got out, sort of drove a couple, then he went once more and he got bowled. Now, a lot of people would have actually said, what are you doing there? That was the last ball of his spell. Switch on. You know, why don't you think about that? Why did you do that? Don't do that again. Whereas actually what they did, they turned and said, the way you played there, that's what we're about. There's more of that. So whether they thought that was the right thing he did there or not, but actually the next time, how much more confidence do you feel with that? And it's those things. And the same with the ball to Jimmy Broady. It's not being about, like, if we look to keep the scoreboard under control and we look to, you know, if we don't let the batsman score, then we'll get wickets. Actually, it's very simple, their thing is, it's like we look to take wickets with the ball. And you have to, and Brendan sort of says everything better than me, but it's like you have to be malleable enough to change the plan when the team requires it, you know, and do what Ben's asking as the captain and what the team wants you to do. And they've loved it because actually it's like taking away some of the fear of going for a few runs. But you can still, with that, you look to take wickets, but you also still look to stop them scoring. It's just not your primary objective. So you're giving everyone more options. And there's something in it for everyone. It does not mean that if you're a less aggressive player that there's not a place for you in this team. No, that's not the case. This might hopefully just bring more out of you because it's just freeing you where you're not living in this world of don't do this.
It's very clear that there's an awful lot of enthusiasm from within you, which obviously transfers through to your lieutenants, and I use that term not as an insult, but and I think whatever else you've done and you've transformed, I'm saying you, but there has been a transformation in the way Test cricket has been played. It sent out a message not only to England but to the rest of the world about the way the game is played, and it's captured the imagination of the cricket watching and the sports watching public. That must gratify you.
Yeah, I've loved that fact, but that's all down to Ben and the way that, and Brendan in particular, because it's little things to me. Sport is not just about winning. I know we sort of tell our kids, and I get really annoyed when people sort of say, no, it's the taking part. No, I'm not saying that at all. But actually there is a style and a way. This is meant to be entertainment. You know, most people aren't fortunate enough to be professional cricketers. They've got proper jobs, real lives, real struggles, and actually cricket's the thing they want to watch to get away from that. You know, it's the escape, and we're in these guys playing for England are in a privileged position to be able to try and entertain them. So when you go to Trent Bridge, and I wouldn't have done it, you know, because even I don't think like that, but what Brendan said at tea about on that last day about we're going, what do they need, 160 or something?
Yeah,
I was in Holland. I was in Holland
tonight.
actually.
Was that it?
No, it was the last day at Trent Bridge.
Oh,
The game was in the balance. Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes were in, and there were 160 needed. What's that? Probably 6 wickets left. And at tea, most of us, as you would know, in the dressing room as a captain, we're like, let's just have a look here, lads. You know, let's just see what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas Brendan and Ben were like, we're winning this game. And and I don't know exactly, but Brendan was like, I'll take responsibility. If we don't win this, I'll take responsibility. I don't care what you know, it's on me, whatever. We're going out to win this no matter what. You know, and that clarity, and then Johnny goes out and plays the way he did. Now, when you look back on that, with a packed house on the last day at Trent Bridge, the only thing that we couldn't have done there was, the only thing that was the wrong thing to do with hindsight was to block out for the draw. I think we would have got more respect and more belief almost from the fans, the crowds, in the way that we went and played that game and the fact we gave it a go. And if it hadn't worked, I still think people would have been proud actually of what they tried to do. The fact we actually went and won it and Johnny played that unbelievable innings and Ben did, it then sort of captured the imagination even more. But that's what this is, you know, you and I have done it. This is not life and death, you know, and yet we treat it at times in professional sport like it's a proper job, and it's not. It's like, this is the best time of your life as a 20 plus something. Make the most of it.
Let's just take it down a level, because the message is very clear, I think, that we now want and expect county cricket, red ball cricket, to follow and think about, or certainly think about and hopefully follow, the example that's been set in the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And let's not forget we're doing this for Lancashire TV, so there's an awful lot of county supporters watching this. How is this going to impact on the counties and in terms of play, but also, and we'll come on to this perhaps in a little bit more detail in a minute, about the impact that England has on county cricket. Let's do the first bit first, about the way we play. And you have been, I'm not sure critical is the right word, you have been realistic in your comments about county cricket and the pitches we play on. And of course, being here at Emirates Old Trafford, we tend to look at this in shock and horror, because we are pleased to have one of the best grounds in the world here. And the pitches are good, and you would know it. And if every county pitch was like this, I don't think you'd have a complaint. But so how is this going to transform English county cricket as well? How's it going to affect county cricket?
Well, similar. I mean, that again, because people would say, why is it important? Surely it's just important about winning. Yeah, okay. Why do you need a brand? Why do you need a style of play or whatever? But it's actually, it's like, well, if you look at what the white ball team did, it wasn't about winning the World Cup. What Owen Morgan did and Trevor Bayliss was that they changed the way, a mentality as much as anything, for our white ball game. And now you look at probably every county, every club, that way of playing has filtered down. So now we have so many batsmen coming through that play in that method. You know, these young players, now you could argue it's an easier way to go about things in white ball cricket. It's not quite straightforward in Test cricket, which is true. So you hope it has a knock-on effect, that it inspires a few people to want to play the longest form, and actually that there is a way that, you know, Test cricket or the longer form of cricket does not mean you have to defend your wicket like it's your life, is the thing. Whether it does, we'll wait and see, but you're absolutely right. Then the other part of that is other things that it's not quite under me, but it's in my sort of remit, but it's something that I have an influence in, I'd like to think, is things like pitches. And to be fair, this year the pitches have all seemed better. And that's a big thing, and you're absolutely right. Here is probably one of the best, if not the best, wickets in the country because of one thing, really. It's got pace and bounce. You know, and it's not with pace and bounce because it's left so much grass on it that it goes everywhere. And that, the reason why I think it's so important, because you find out who the best bowlers are, because you've got to be a proper bowler to bowl on that surface. If you're a spinner, you're going to get a bit out of it, but it's not going to be ridiculous. You're going to have to earn your time. And if you're a batsman, you're going to have to bat well to score runs on it. And that, then, when you look at this year where the wickets have been better, whether it's the ball or whatever have you, look at Potts. But it's a good decision getting Potts. And, you know, he plays with Stokes, so that's lucky.
We've seen him for a while.
Correct.
You and I. We've seen him play county cricket for 3-4 years.
Correct.
And he's been not a total standout, but he's somebody you tick.
But also, because he's done it at a time when it's really tough to be a bowler, this year when no one else was getting wickets, he's learned. All that means is to be successful, you have to be more accurate. You have to do something with the ball, you know, and then it's an easy selection because he's getting 7-footers, and we've seen him, and Mo Bobat, who's the performance director, has seen him from under-19 cricket. So there's this whole pathway in place, and then because he's played in the right conditions, his game leaps forward. And it's the same. There's been so many players like that. I mean, we picked the white ball squads. You got, I mean, like Gleeson.
That's been miraculous, the way he's come back into the game. He's hardly bowled a ball for 2 years. And he bowls 93 mile an hour guns now.
I know, and then you must be frustrated as ex-director of cricket thinking, oh, if only we'd had him for 2 years. But that's the investment that you guys have put in that's now going to benefit English cricket. Fingers crossed. But that's, you know, he's learning in conditions that, you know, it's like when they played it, that was great. He did it against India and that batting lineup. On those conditions, it's like, you know...
He's got himself an IPL contract now, hasn't he? Well, it'll be close anyway.
But you know what I mean? Like, if you do that, you've got to feel, you've got to feel 10 foot tall.
I agree. It's a good point you make about promoting players or developing players to play international cricket. That is what counties are for, generally. Yeah. It should be one of their highest aims, to produce the best quality cricketers that they can do. And then obviously there's a natural progression from county cricket into the international. The biggest frustration that supporters and counties have, I think, is that there appears to be, or has appeared to be, a lack of empathy with the counties from England. A particular case in point, the T20 competition that's just gone by, which is a good competition.
Yeah.
And from my mind should be promoted a little bit more than it is. But we had a great set of quarterfinals, semi-final, final.
Yeah.
All without the England players. There were one or two released.
Yeah.
Grant you that. But Would that be a frustration for you that you can't release more? And is that something you might be looking to address?
That's something, again, with the schedule this year, that has been a frustration, really, because generally, and what we've tried to do is release people as much as we can. Yeah. So throughout those quarterfinals, I was constantly talking to the coaches, who were very good as well. We said, we don't want people sitting on the bench, which is a massive bonus this year from COVID times, when actually everyone had to stay there. You know, and a lot of the time, people are still living in this COVID where, you know, with the way that people did things back then, businesses and stuff like that, you don't have to keep people around. So what we've tried to do as much as we can is release people to play for their counties. You know, and the problem's been when there's been a game the next day or something. Mm-hmm. And to the point even where we've said to them, I say, right, okay, we've got 3 ODIs, for example, coming up. Do you think that you're going to play every bowler? Is it realistic that every seamer is going to play every game? And we'd say, generally, you say, well, no, there's a chance that one might need to be rested here or there. I said, right, okay, let's try and make it so that if you're going to rest, let's say, I think it might be David Willey at some point. He's got finals day on the Saturday. Let's rest him for that Sunday so then he can go and do that. So we've tried as much as we can to do that. And what we're trying to do is make sure that in so many instances, the schedule's a schedule at the moment. That's something it's not what we necessarily do, but
you'll have an influence over it, though.
Well, you hope so, yes, going forward.
Yeah.
And this year's been particularly tough because we had that India test match that was a make-up test from this one. We've got to go to Holland because we didn't go during COVID time. So you hope that we can get that better in the future. But generally, you know, we sort of have tried as much as we can. And what we want to do, actually, and we're trying to do, is when we have the conversations about the various players, whether it's centrally contracted ones, which Lancashire have a lot, what we're trying to do is actually work with the counties. So actually to sit round together with Chile, Chappie, the S&Cs, the physios, the people on our side, and actually say, well, what do we all think is best for this player? You know, what do we all think is best for Joss Butler or whoever, Liam Livingston, whoever it is, and then come up with something that works so that we can give some ownership back to the counties to say, you know, you guys, you producing these players, keep going with it. How can we help rather than us telling you what to do all the time?
That's really good, and what I would have hoped you would do and expect from you. Let's just talk a little bit about the structure. There's going to be a review, or there's an ongoing review. The structure is a thing that frustrates not only players and administrators, and probably you and me, but also member supporters. Would you consider, and are you considering, reducing the number of county games, which I think would be a good thing, and reducing the red ball games perhaps to a division of 12 and 6 and have 11 games in the first division, and then for the white ball T20 just reduce that a little bit and 50 over, and that may be your most contentious area, given one or two comments that have been passed over the last couple of weeks. Wasim Akram said it's probably on its way out. We all thought about that actually in 2015 when the competition was in Australia, and Brendan McCullum, no less, resurrected the way to play 50 over cricket. So no, we're going back a bit now, 7 years. Anyway, so in terms of the domestic structure, for me it has to change, and it has to be streamlined, and there has to be more time made. Now you can't make time, so what you do, you take games out of it to create time. Or have I answered your question?
No, I think you've answered your own question. No, what it is there's two things. That the high performance review is not just a domestic structure review, and at the moment where there's lots of that you've got the first class counties chairman, you've got the CEOs, you've got various different groups that we're all sort of getting. We're canvassing opinions really to try and work out what everyone who's got a stake in the game really thinks the best thing to do is. So we're not at the point where we're saying you're going to reduce games, you're going to have more less games or anything. We're at the point now where we're trying to, because what we want to really do is take the game with us with this, rather than actually just do it to the game, just say, right, this is what's happening, this is what you're going to do. So whether it is less games, more games, whether it's whatever, that part is what's being thrown around at the moment, trying to work out the best way, along with so much of what is high performance. So how can we help to make more pitches like Old Trafford? How can you help under-19 cricket? All these things are getting thrown into the mix. And at some point over the next month or two, we'll start firming up some ideas. But lots of suggestions are in the melting pot at the moment. And I genuinely, I'm not trying to hide anything, I couldn't tell you if it's going to, how it's going to end up. There's lots of different ideas, but as you know as well, it's incredibly tough to work out exactly the best way for everyone. But I also think there's part of it that's got to be how can the England team and the England setup help county cricket as well, not actually it's county cricket's job to help us all the time. So I don't know where that's going to end up at the moment, but that's all the things you've spoken about are in the melting pot.
Let's just move on quickly to white ball cricket. You've had a wonderful, I can't say honeymoon period, that's rubbish, but you've had a great start to your red ball performances. White ball's been difficult and is probably destined to get a little bit more difficult before it gets better because you've got new personnel in Matthew Mott's come in, he's lost his captain, you've lost your talismanic all-rounder in Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one for you because you were obviously charged, or you thought that red ball cricket would be
the easy one,
and the white ball will just take care of itself. Ain't working that way at the moment, is it?
No, but the one thing I would say about that is that one, I didn't know that Owen Morgan was going to, but Morgan's never gave me a guarantee that he was going to do it. And I always felt that he would do what he felt was right, not for him, for English cricket actually. So, you know, Joss has come in, who I think is an outstanding captain, and from dealing with him, he's been fantastic. They've just played against a very, very good side in India, where the ball did actually more than they were expecting. You know, the injuries to our bowlers hasn't hit us in Test cricket at all because we've got Anderson Broad and then Potts has come about, so we've not really felt it at all. And we felt it a bit more in white ball cricket, and the batsmen haven't quite been at their best. And a lot of that could be down, the pitch at the Oval had a bit more in it, all those things, you know, there's probably lots of different factors. But when I look at teams, what concerns me more is when you don't have the resource, i.e. you don't have the cattle, you don't have the players. But I look at our batting lineup at Bairstow, you know, you've got Bairstow, Roy, Joe Root, whoever these people are, Josh Butler, Liam Livingstone, Salt. There's all these guys. You've got Brooke knocking around. You've got so many to choose from. They'll find form at some point. So I'm quite pleased. I'd much rather we'd played against like a team like that Indian team. And we'd have seen the Gleesons and the people, and Chris Jordan bowled well, Topley bowled well. We started to find out about people properly against a good side, rather than playing someone or a team that were nowhere near as good as us, and we just blitzed through them and we wouldn't learn anything. So I've been quite pleased actually that we're in this period of play. And I also think, you know, people forget, you know, Joss, Matthew Mott, you're quite right. It's going to take them a little bit of time to make it their team and find their rhythm. People forget, you know, Morgs captain England in the World Cup in 2015 as well, and it took him a little while to find his voice and the way that he wanted people to go about it. I think Joss will find that quickly, and it won't take long before they start taking it to another level. There's two seriously good people there with Joss and Matthew Mott. So I'm actually, you know, I think we're in a better place in white ball cricket now than we were at the start of this competition because of some of these bowlers coming through. You know, and then you add to that into the mix, like you got Wokes, Archer, Wood, all these guys, and you think, hang up, you know, this is looking pretty good. We've got more options now than we did.
You've mentioned about 20 players there, which brings me to my next point, selection.
Yeah.
Because you haven't, I want to say haven't addressed it, you probably haven't needed to so far, but there is going to come a point where you're going to have to think about how you structure your selection and who is going to do that and what sort of format it's going to take, how many people, etc.
Yeah.
Are you basically in charge of that at the moment, doing it off your own bat?
Yeah, so I'm effectively the head selector, and what we do is with each team at the moment, so you've got Ben, Brendan, myself as the vote, as it were, because what I like, I can't bear wasting time. So it's like if you all sit around and go, I want him, I want him, I want him, and you go, okay, we've all debated this long enough, who you having, who you having, who you having? vote's done, then we move on. And there's been times actually where we haven't always agreed, and it's worked. It works well. And then you see where I'm very lucky, and I couldn't do this job. The performance director, who's been there for a while actually, Mo Bobat, who's an unsung hero actually of English cricket, who has done so much work behind the scenes, never really got any credit for it, from right back to working with Straussy when they set up this plan for England in white ball cricket, all of that. And Mo's fantastic, and he's on that panel. David Court as well, who's in charge of player ID. You've got a whole scouting network of people. I've got a good, whether it's like contacts book in my phone, I can speak to people, whether it's you, whether it's Bumble, whether it's Athnas, anyone around. I could speak to players about, that I still know and say, what's it like facing Potts? So we've got this huge network of people. So it's not about like a head selector. It's someone who's going to actually facilitate that process, deal with the media, all those things. Because, if I want to know about pathway cricket or the next best coming through, Mo, David Court,
you've got
every scout, they have
people around you.
We've got great people, which I think is leadership actually. One thing I think I've got to be, I don't know how to really do emails properly. I don't know how to do a lot of stuff. But what I do think, I'd like to think I'm a decent judge of character and a person. And I just make sure I've got good people around me that can challenge me and make good decisions. And Mo's certainly been brilliant. The two of us have worked very well together. And that's really helped me. And a lot of the decisions have been joint in that regard. So the head selector or selector, however we slice it up, is about the person that fits into that group. The person that can help facilitate that, to be present at county games, to make sure that they're on tour at times. So you're just keeping the process in check when I can't necessarily. So I can't tell you exactly where I'm at with it. We need someone, whether it's where exactly they fit into that is a different thing.
All in the fullness of time. Just to wrap this up, it's not quite obvious from the way we've talked and the time we've taken, which time has flown, that you're hugely enthusiastic about English cricket, international cricket in all its forms, developmental cricket. How important is county cricket to you, the county system and the counties that provide all these players?
Well, you see, people at times when I was working for Sky, probably because I had to go at pitches or stuff like that, felt if I was anti, but actually this is where I'm from. I know more about, I've got more of an affiliation to county cricket than a lot of people. I didn't play a huge amount of international cricket, but I also see the potential for county cricket. When I got into this job, and people, I said, I remember people asking me about, well, will you be able to do this? Will you be able to do that? I said, I've got a downer on English cricket like a lot. It seems like a lot of people. I'm so optimistic about things. I look at the players that are coming through the county system. As I said, there's so many good players coming through. I think it's hugely important, because without that, you haven't got an England team really. So I'm incredibly optimistic, incredibly positive about county cricket and what it can provide.
Well, I think after this chat, there'll be an awful lot of people in the cricketing world hoping that you'll do as much as you can to safeguard the county cricket structure. Well, the structure will change, but the county cricket players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that generally, we're that close in English cricket to having everything, to being really good at Test cricket, to being really good at white ball cricket as well. And we're not far away. A little change of mentality here and there, and we're getting one step closer. And there's going to be a real rocky road ahead at times, I'd imagine, with this England team. And it's not always going to be where they're winning and stuff like that. But as long as we keep that mentality right throughout English cricket, I think we've got a good chance.
Rob, thanks very much. You've started brilliantly as Managing Director of Men's Cricket. Let's hope it continues for many, many years to come. Thanks for being here at Emirates Old Trafford.
Cheers, Will.
My guest on this edition of Beyond the Boundary is somebody who's been synonymous with Lancashire cricket for over 60 years. Started as a player in the 60s, went on to captain the side, play for England, then became an umpire, first-class umpire, coached Lancashire, coached England, and became one of the 21st century's fantastic and best broadcasters. It is David Lloyd. David, it's great to see you. Where did it all begin then?
Well, back in 1965, and it began on the ground, and it's obvious is that, but when you played for Lancashire boys, you played here, which is a great place when you've got the committee and the coaches or whoever who can see the young talent coming on. We played right at the corner, right at the end, next to the pavilion, the old pavilion, and I did all right. So it was north v south, did okay. And then Lancashire versus Yorkshire and Cheshire, and did okay.
It was a fair trek in then when you when you used to start as a junior professional. Felt like it was a fair trek in from Accrington in the 60s.
It were 3 buses for a start. You know, when buses upstairs, it were for smokers. Now I've never smoked in my life. I had the filthy habit. But you always wanted to go upstairs to sniff these blokes smoking these senior service and capstan full strength. And you put your kit bag, if you remember, when you got on the bus, there was like a well. So you put your kit bag in, there was no chance of anybody nicking it. It was always there when you got to Moseley Street. And then I think I caught the 48 bus up to close by the football ground and then had to walk. But I wasn't the only one. There were lots of us came in that same sort of journey.
And you came into a Lancashire environment, and I think, let's be fair, in the early mid-60s, Lancashire weren't in a period of success, but they had some fantastic players. One of the finest bowlers of all time in Brian Statham, for one. Jeff Puller, Ken Higgs, Jack Bond was around.
Do you know, it's an absolute mystery. When you look at the calibre of players, you think there's some wonderful players, but you're dead right, we couldn't bat. We couldn't get runs, and Statham and Higgs got 100 wickets each, and I think we finished second bottom. And it was always, the laws of the game, or the structure of the competition was really odd. They kept chopping and changing, and I recall that you had to come out at 65 overs, you had to come out at 100 overs and declare 3-day matches, uncovered pitches. So you're always sort of manufacturing games to fit the 3 days, because inevitably, particularly here, we were losing so much to the weather. You look at Old Trafford now and the drainage, which is state of the art. Back in the 60s, it was just natural soil. And if it rained, you'd deluge and puddles everywhere. You just didn't play. And so we were always constantly manufacturing games over a 3-day period on uncovered pitches.
Mm. What about your first impressions then of Brian Statham and Jeff Puller? Brian was captain in the 60s, fantastic bowler, but not perhaps the best captain.
Well, we used to, Tommy Greenup and I, and sometimes we'd play together. And Tommy used to say, we'll be coming on any time now. I said, how do you know that? He says, because the 48 bus has just gone past. He says, at 5 to 1, we usually come on when that goes past. So, and it's uncanny. That's a number of times that you get that last over before lunch, if the seamers had bowled first up in the morning. But Statham was a wonderful man. He was a fantastic man. And he just led by example, really. Jeff Puller was brilliant, absolutely magnificent. He's a left-handed opening batter. Here's this kid from Accrington coming in, batting at number 8, showing a bit of promise. And he would know that he's going to elevate, this young kid's going to elevate, and eventually he'd open the batting, which is what I did. But Jeff helped me all the way. He looked after me.
Was cricket your first love?
No.
Because you were a good footballer and all,
No,
weren't
it still isn't my first love. I like horse racing, golf and football. I'm an absolute football fanatic. I love football, particularly lower league football. And I still go and watch whenever I can. York City, I live over York Way now, so we go and watch York City. I'm a season ticket holder there. They're in National League North. And even now, I take my boots with me, thinking I might get a do, because they're not very good. And of course, Accrington Stanley is my club.
But you were synonymous with the resurrection of Accrington Stanley, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a director for a while, and then my mate bought the club. And he pulled me on one side. He said, "I've got some bad news." He said, "I know you're a director." He said, "but I'm sacking all the directors. I don't want any of them. I'm running the show." I said, "Thank you, thank you. It's costing me a fortune, this." Because if one of the players, and this is in the bad old days, if he got subbed and wanted a shower and went and put the shower on, the floodlights went off. So we had to have a new electric system and so on. But we've now got a cracking club.
It's a bit different now. I've read in the papers this week that there's going to be a new champagne bar.
Yeah, it
Not
is
something
brilliant.
that is synonymous with Accrington.
No, I don't. I think that'll struggle really. We've got it's a conference centre, which is, I think it's 400 or 450. Hospitality and conference centre, which is bang on. And now we've never had it tarmac. We've got tarmac up there now, which is great when you drive your car in. But your cracking club now, Andy Holt is the owner, the chairman, and he's done a brilliant job.
Let's just come back to Lancashire. And late 60s, there was a sea change in Lancashire's performances. It was the start of a fantastic era of one-day success. What triggered that?
I think the club had in the 60s, there was this unrest. And then we got a great chairman. I mean, gregarious, right up front, a bloke called Cedric Rhodes. And he shook the place. He absolutely shook it up. And you know, a lot of things you'd say, I didn't like that about Cedric, and I didn't like that about Cedric, but he was here every day, fully hands-on. And he gave the club a real shake. And then Jack Bond took over as captain. When they were scratching their heads, thinking, who should we make captain? Jack was in the twos.
Replace Statham?
It'd be to replace Brian Statham.
Yeah.
And I think they advertised in the Telegraph for a captain. That might have been before Brian Statham. But Bondy was playing in the twos. And they give him the job. And I would think that would be short term at the time. But it coincided and corresponded with a lot of young lads coming from club cricket. And you were playing Saturday, Sunday club cricket, league cricket, knockout cricket. We all came together from different areas. Lads from down St Helens, Ken Shuttleworth, lads from up Mosley Way, Staley Bridge, John Sullivan, Harry Pilling, lads from down Lancashire League, myself, latterly Jack Simmons. And it clicked. And suddenly we got a one-day team playing one-day cricket to full houses. And they were glory days, real glory days. When you consider Sunday League, I think it started at 2 o'clock. You've got to finish your first innings at 4:10. Be 16, 20,000 on here. And again, when you do interviews like this, you can recall there were no advertising boards. They didn't have any. They weren't that sort of. It wasn't that sort of club. There'd be half a dozen people would work in the offices. That's it. And so the crowd used to spill onto the pitch with a boundary rope, and the crowd behind the boundary rope, and you could have 4,000 or 5,000 people sat on the ground. And so it was a great atmosphere. I mean, a fortress right on top of you, the crowd.
What was Jack Bond's secret then? Because
man management.
And undoubtedly he had some good players, or some good players who were starting to come to the fore. I'm thinking of Lever and Shuttleworth and Lloyd and Wood. And the overseas players, Clive Lloyd and Farouk Engineer.
Yeah.
But Bondy's big secret, man management.
He got the great name, Bond. that was what he did. He bonded a team together. He was totally unselfish. And if we were in a jam, he'd go in and sort of stick it out, and grind it out. If we were flying, he'd drop down and send John Sullivan or anybody else to give it a Wasim and David Hughes. So he was honest, unselfish, and great man management. I mean, he managed me. I could get a bit volatile, and he could manage me, no problem.
You say you were volatile, David, yeah, and that stuck with you probably through your career and probably still a little bit in your life now. But you've obviously learned to temper yourself. How much of an influence was Jack Bond on you in your future, not only as a cricketer, but when you became captain and then coach, then an umpire? How much did Jack Bond influence you?
He was a massive influence, and two others at the club were massive influences, Edward Slinger and Bob Bennett. They were great influences, and they knew how to calm me down, how to sort of shut me up a little bit, as did Jack. But Jack must have seen something to push me as captain, because he was going to retire, and he told me that, follow me, watch what I do. And we went on holiday together, actually, and he said that, you know, you'll probably be captain, and you've got to pick things up, and you've got to learn how to step back a bit. I'm a lot better than I used to be. I think I'm all right now. You know, Jack believed in me for a start, but I've got to tell you a funny story. We went, at the end, when he was retiring, he was finishing, and I'm getting wind that I'm going to be captain. We go to Germany on an end-of-season jolly to, I think I'm in Frankfurt or somewhere. And this is an end-of-season jolly to end all end-of-season jollies. And we sort of celebrated every night, well into the night. He's made me captain for this next game. So at night time, I thought I've got to get to bed, I've got to go to bed early. And I start mapping out on bits of paper where fielders should stand and so on. The morning after, we turn up and I was like, captain, here we go, get yourself sorted out. There's only two turned up. So we tossed up, well, we'll have a bat. And we batted like, it's a 35 over game, batted like, and kept looking, is there anybody else coming? And then Harry Pilling and John Sullivan staggered out of a room. Keith Goodwin, he spent all, it's like an army camp, he spent all day saluting all the soldiers, because he used to be in the army, and waving aeroplanes off, so I couldn't get him to the ground. And we shored up, I think it was me and Edward Slinger, rather me and Edward, and me and Bob Bennett, who opened the batting and just had to shore things up. And I've got all these bits of paper in my pocket as to where I could put my fielders. I only got two.
I don't know. It's not quite like that now. I'll tell you. So that was basically after a very successful period. Lancashire had won the Gillette Cup 3 years on the trot, John Player League twice, and you then became captain in '73, following on from Jack, and were captain relatively young, weren't you?
Yeah,
what were you, 25, 26?
20, I might have been 26, 27. And we were just on the wane, you know, just on the cusp, right, you know, just on our sell-by date, if you will. And, you know, you're missing Clive. Clive, if West Indies were here, that's it, gone. And you didn't replace, you didn't say, oh, we'll get somebody else in for 3 or 4 weeks. And so, you know, we lost the kingpin player, lost the number one. Farouk, God bless him, what a wonderful character within the team, belligerent batsman, brilliant wicket keeper, just coming to the end. And so we did all right, and we continued Gillette Cup success, getting to finals. I think you've done great if you get to finals, particularly at that time in the 70s. If you keep getting to finals, you're doing something right. And during my time, we got to 3.
You won it again in 75.
Won it in 75. In 74, 76, we were just on the wrong end. We played Kent. And I think Alan Knott was man of the match, and he got 15. And it was one of them dismal, nasty, horrible days and horrible pitch. And the game didn't happen, really. And we got beat by Northants as well. Although Northants at that time had a really good side. They had a good team.
But Lancashire, since, let's say since '68, have had various 11s, teams that have been hugely successful in one-day cricket and have only ever won the county championship once.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why? Is it the glamour of one-day cricket, do you think?
Yeah, partly. In the early days, with uncovered pitches, particularly on this side, and I know you can say, well, Yorkshire were very successful on the east side. The rain comes up here and it drops buckets on Old Trafford, and that definitely hampered us from the players that we had. But I mentioned Cedric Rhodes, and from the club perspective, he would make us fully aware that one-day cricket pays the rent. You know, we're filling the ground every time we play a one-day game, and you're winning. And spectators are clamouring for tickets, sold out every time. So we were under no illusions that one-day cricket was priority at the club. And if you did okay in championship cricket, good. You know, you did all right. Yeah, you're doing all right. We had, I know we had one year where we were second and pushing to be champions. And we had a rain-curtailed game, final match down at Sussex. And it didn't just happen. And Tony Gregg, I think, were captain at Sussex at the time. And we just didn't push on and finished up 4th. But we had a really good season then. But one-day cricket was the king.
On a personal level, your cricket playing, it's a long time ago now, but it tends to get pushed back into the periphery because you've done so much in the game. But you had an England career which was perhaps too short, just less than 10 games, but you averaged 42 as an opener. Were you frustrated that you didn't play more for England and do better as an individual?
No, I thought I'd run my race, my time were up really. I'd only get into that team if Geoffrey Boycott wasn't around. Dennis Amis was a fantastic player. John Edrich had opened and just dropped down. So, you know, these are stellar players. And Boykes, for whatever reason, got injured when I got into the team. So I'm in form. They're looking for an opener. I got in, did all right. And of course I averaged 42, which helps when you got 214 not out in one knock. that run half helped, get the average up. And so I went to Australia. I'd never really been out of England. Had a ball. We had a great time, great tour, great opponents, and they beat us 4-1 because they were far better. But I knew at the end of that, you know, once, and I come back with an injury, with a neck injury, which has reared its head like you wouldn't believe in this last 12 months. And I knew that if I wasn't fit and I wasn't in form, they'd look somewhere else, which they did.
Did you think to yourself then that the step up to international level was perhaps, unless you were playing at your very, very best, was just a bit beyond you?
Yeah, I did. You know, when I played here in England against India and Pakistan, I felt, yeah, well at home. Yeah, I'm good enough for this. But when we went to Australia, you come up against Rodney Marsh, who's recently passed away, the Chappells, Thompson and Lilly, Max Walker, and Ashley Mallett. You know, that were tough. And they were better than us, which is how it is. If they win 4-1, and we had good players, but they were better than us.
I'm just thinking that you know, your formative experiences coming from Accrington, playing for Lancashire, your time under Jack Bond, your time as a leader for Lancashire, and then your time playing as an opening bat for England, probably set you in really good stead for what you were going to do in future. You went to be an umpire, and then you went to be a coach. Did you have a career path planned?
Definite.
And you really wanted to be, I mean, you were on the verge of becoming an international umpire when you went back into coaching.
Yeah. In my latter stages, so in my early 30s, early to mid 30s, I finished when I was 36. And I always said I wish I'd have finished when I was 32. And I'd gone in to see Chris Hassel when I was 32 and said, look, I'm thinking of calling a day because I want to do this. And he said, we'd like you to carry on. I carried on to 36, which was a mistake. I could have done 2 years, could have done to 34. But there were two things, that coming back from England and realising I'm just going to be a county player, I changed my game. I started being a bit of a dasher, where I was careful, building innings, you know, leave the ball. I started going after it, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the other thing, that in that, when I was 30s, I took all my coaching badges, which is the best thing I did, whilst I was playing. I did all this whilst I was playing. And you know what I'm like. I'm coming back from these coaching winters, which are tough, down at Lillishall.
Yeah.
Real tough. And I'm wanting to put all these ideas into play. And Bondi and Sav, just shut up. You just look, you just sit. Well, just sit down. We're not interested. We're not interested. But I got all these badges, and
But you were always a great thinker about the game, a great theorist, and you developed into a wonderful innovator, didn't you? Through your time as Lancashire coach initially.
Love that, love that. First up, I came with David Hughes. Yozza and Alan Ormrod had parted company. I think Alan had gone. Hughesy was here, and I came in and looked after the twos. And that was a great time. I enjoyed that. Then Yozza left, and I was elevated to do the job. And so I was in cahoots with the groundsman, a bloke called Peter Marron. Pete Marron, me and him, and we had a dressing room attendant, you know, called Ron Spriggs. So I used to get in here. So we're in the pavilion, all this side. And I wanted an office. I wanted to be away, but, you know, if I want to pull a play, I want to come in here, I want to sit down. And Pete Marron made me an office in the defunct urinals. And so he boarded these urinals up, and proper lavish, but blocked them all off, and that was my office. It was brilliant. Right at the back of the pavilion, overlooking the police station and the town hall. And so every morning I'd get in here at 7:30, and Pete Marron and Ron Spriggs would come up and sit with me, with three of us round the table. And it sort of reminds me of like Bill Shankly and the boot room at Liverpool. And Spriggs would make the tea, big pint pots of tea, put them down. And Spriggs would sit down. He said, "Have you seen that lad in the twos? You see, he should be in the first team. I don't know how you're not picking him." And so Ron Spriggs thought he was picking the team. But it was, you know, round the dressing room, I think I hit them hard, the players at that time, because I had all these slogans round the dressing room, all, you know, commitment, character, charisma, all over there. And they're coming in and what that. I said, that's what we are. That's what we are. I had a sign also, "This is Old Trafford."
You were ahead of your time in that, though, really, I think, in terms of coaching. I think you innovated that sort of approach. I remember you playing music to the players as well.
Yeah, little bits.
Stir them up or calm them down, whichever.
Yeah, stir them up. But when you say you play music, there were little clips, like a minute and a half, nothing more than that. And then I got them all to choose their own clip and play that. And so I wanted them to go out. I wanted to run down the steps at Old Trafford and flipping charge onto the field and let everybody know, particularly the Oppo, that we're here for business. That's what we do. And the one thing I said to the lads, I didn't say a lot. I said, we might not be the best batters, we might not be the best bowlers, but we will be the best fielders. We work like stink on fielding and fitness, so that we're just swarming all over them in the field. And that, you know, I always, particularly one-day cricket, I had lads like Gary Yates, Peter Martin, young Glenn Chappell, Ian Austin, my lad Graham, Neil Fairbrother, Crawley, Atherton, Gallion, name them all.
Fantastic team, that.
Brilliant team. I said, in one-day game, you switched on. I said, there'll be one moment that we have to win. It's that moment of magic. That when somebody picks the ball up and runs him out. And I'll never forget, played Yorkshire on here, big game. Darren Lehman. he's probably the best overseas player they've had.
Mm.
And I said, we run him out. He's got a bit of weight, look at him, tubby. He's a bit tubby. I said, we run him out. I said, he'll want to get to the other end. We run him out. I said, if he's on strike, ball 5-6, tighten up, infield, tighten it up. We're running him out. Forget the other geezer, run him out. And it was our Graham. It was rapid. Graham was ready. You wouldn't think
low
so.
To the ground as well.
He was low to the ground,
Yeah.
and he picked. And I'm on that balcony there, across the other side. And as soon as he's pushed, you know, he's sort of back foot, which he's got another yard to make up, because he's on the back. He's pushed it, and Graham's moved round at cover like slow motion. And I've got hold of the edge of the and run him out, and he hit the stumps full on. And he would get no DR, none of that business, and we'll go to the umpire upstairs, and the square leg umpire give him out. And I'm jumping about on the balcony.
You had a very talented team. I don't think there's ever been a good coach of a bad side, has there?
No.
But
no.
let's forget that.
Yeah.
You were a good coach of a good team.
We forgot a bloke called Akram.
Oh yeah, he was quite good. Yeah, well there you go. If you have him, you've got two players in one, and one of the best ever, haven't you?
Well, I get asked every time. I get asked, what's your best world 11 that you've seen? So I start at number 8, I just put Akram, and at number 9 I put Warren, and then build the rest of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's just break off. Shane Warne recently died in tragic circumstances. For me, he was the best spin bowler I've ever seen, and one of the top 3 cricketers I've ever seen.
And a great bloke.
Top bloke.
Fantastic bloke.
Kind.
Yeah, very, very generous.
Yeah.
Great mate. I'll tell you how good a mate he is from the other end of the world. If you're in adversity, he'll ring you.
Mm.
He'll just give you a call. And so that was a tragedy, but he lived life to the full. Sleeping was a damn nuisance. And so the whole cricket world will miss him. And there've been some great players. There's been some of the greatest players haven't been the nicest people. Mm. This bloke was top drawer.
And you were always a great admirer of spin bowling as well, and spin bowlers. Would he be the best you've seen?
Yeah, he is. Murally.
Yeah, well,
he's right up there.
Yeah.
And when you talk about spin ball, he's talking spin. Rip it, make it go both ways, which both of them lads could do. And so he championed the game, did Shane Warne. Not just resting back and, you know, I'm a great bowler, look at me, I'm brilliant. He championed the game of cricket, he cared.
He'd control the game as well, wouldn't he?
Oh, aye.
He would come under his spell, whether you were on his side or more importantly, if you were against it.
He'd make damn sure that him at the other end is playing me, not the ball. He used to, I mean, when I was in England, when we play against him, I said, don't play him, play the ball. He'll be right into you, which he was. He loved that aspect of it. Mm. Just a stare and a chip and a bit of something.
And a hugely perceptive commentator in
brilliant.
Later
Absolutely brilliant. Well. Big regret that he didn't become Australia captain. He couldn't become Australia captain, but you know, he had a very colourful life, and he will be sorely missed.
Okay, back to you. Back to your coaching, which you did with considerable success for Lancashire. It wasn't long before you were recognised by the England hierarchy and appointed England coach. Mm. That must have been a fantastic time of your life.
It was, with Atherton as captain. You know, that was a good combo. And Raymond Illingworth was doing the whole job, if you remember. He was Supremo. Mm. But Illy was great. You know, when I came in and took over that side of things, of sort of preparing the team. So let's look at that time in the late 90s. The coach, you know, I would expect him to...
Sorry to interrupt, but it's not a bad blueprint for where we are now with English cricket, the way it was then. Mm. Because we're basically rudderless at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, go back to you.
Yeah, so Illy was doing everything. I came in to prepare the team. That's how it was. I always looked at, if I have to tell this bloke who's opening the batting for England how to hold the bat, there's something wrong. Yeah. But you prepare them to play and you're giving them knowledge, strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. We had monitors and VHS videos, all that sort of thing of this is how he plays, these are his vulnerable points, this is you doing brilliantly, by the way. Put little clips on, and that worked, and that was different. Nobody else was doing it. Nobody was doing that sort of thing. But the main thing for me would be to prepare the team and then hand it over to Michael Atherton or Alex Stewart.
The captain.
Because he's running the show then. There's nothing you can do over 5 days.
Were you not helped tremendously by the fact there was a influential, stable individual who was in charge of the ECB at the time, and that was Ian McCullum?
Yeah, McCullum was good, and he came in, and you could tell from his big business and Tesco's and chairman that he was a bit taken aback, and he had to.
What, by the?
Yeah.
Was there an amateurish nature?
Yeah. That's exactly
without
it.
being unkind.
Yeah, it needed to.
But you tried to bring it into the professional area. You've already said we did video analysis. We prepared the play. We didn't coach them. We weren't technical with them.
No, but we had technical people like as they do now. We had a bowling coach, batting coach, wicket-keeping coach who would work with the players. So if I'm head coach, I'm sort of preparing everything and organising everything, and then it's over to the captain who's not had to do anything with that. That's your job now, the team. You work the team tactically. You can't start, as I did with Winkers, start shouting, move him round there. Atherton, Stewart, or whoever, captain's the side. No, if you don't like the captain, change him. But that's the way that it was.
But weren't you, in conjunction with Ian McCullum, instrumental in bringing in central contracts?
No, I wanted to.
You wanted
behind the scenes, it were always central contracts, but there was no money. They didn't have the money. And then there became a big sea change in the year 2000 when broadcast deals started up. And that's when England got on a level footing with the rest of the world with central contracts. Whereas players were, it's not just to play for England is an icing on the cake. Playing for England is your job. That's what you do for a living. And that's where you get your money. And now, fabulously, they're well paid. Cricketers are pretty well paid.
Who do you have, Anderson or Statham?
Oh,
to Lancashire.
jeez. Well, number one, I'd say I want both of them for a kick-off. Anderson or Statham. Uncovered pitches. Anderson or Statham.
You can't pick, can you?
You can't.
Really,
You can't.
I mean,
Do you know?
I know Jimmy's career in numbers is far superior to Brian.
Yeah.
But
in Test match numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in career numbers. Brian got 2,500 wickets.
Yeah. But about the same pace. About 85, lively enough, deadly accurate. Statham, in uncovered pitches, used to knock a little channel out. We're not talking about pitches with loam and clay, just the soil of the area. He'd knock a little strip out because of the accuracy.
The size of a dinner mat, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, and Jim's the same. It's that God-given talent that they bowl that length that is so awkward for any batter. There's a magic length. It's a span of about that.
It's the length that says to the batsman, do you play forward
or do I play back? And by the time you've made your mind up, you've nicked it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple, but so hard to do.
Yeah.
Don't mind you not being definitive on that, that's fine. You've been in the game, as I said earlier, and we'll come to the end of this shortly, in the best part of 60 years, in all your guises. And your broadcasting and your speaking has sort of sat in the background for a lot of it, obviously not in the last 20 years, but you'll have seen an inordinate number of cricketers. And I'll put you on the spot now. I want you to tell me who you think is the best player you've seen who played for England for a start.
Kevin Peterson.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, number one, Kevin Peterson.
Because he could just bend everybody to his will and
do extraordinary things. And from the job that we did, he got you on the edge of your seat. You know, powerful, big, tall, commanding, reminded me a lot of Ted Dexter. Same sort of build and had a presence. And Peter, I don't know Peterson, I don't know Kevin Peterson at all, really. Just say hello to him, but as an England player, he was my number one. Graham Gooch, brave, thorough, dedicated. Geoffrey Boycott, get past that. You get past that flipping lot. And I've had that many up and downers with him. Oof. Oh, with Lancashire, Yorkshire like that. Yeah. But I still class him as one of my best mates. Yeah. You're talking nonsense. I don't talk as much nonsense as you.
He's an awkward zone. So,
oh, dear me.
But fanatical about the game, and does he ever talk sense about it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, he doesn't now because he's gone.
Yeah.
Must be crackers.
Anyway. Okay. Peterson, the best played for England, in general. Any country. Give me a player.
Batter?
Yeah, whatever.
Me three. I could qualify this and say the three favourite players are all West Indians.
Good.
Gary Sobers, Viv Richards, Brian Lara. Them three.
All left-handed batters as well.
Great players. Ricky Ponting. And there's the big debate that we can do it here in Lancashire's dressing room. You try and have this debate in Mumbai. Who's the best player, Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli? Now, I've seen them both, I've worked on them both. Both unbelievably talented. And I've only got one place in my team. I've got one place at number 4, number 5, whatever. Who am I going to pick? Virat Kohli. Now, I've just alienated a country. They've got, but I'd have Virat Kohli, a real battler. I like that type of player. But another of my favourite players, Javed Miandad. Just a real battler. I get stuck in. Another of my favourite player. Now, I wanted to tell you.
No.
I wanted to tell you.
Tell me.
So, my favourite and all time, we've all talked batters there. Yes. Wasim Akram.
I was going to say,
Akram.
You've left Akram out.
Well, Akram, every time.
Yeah, I think
and his mate, Wakar.
He was
great
phenomenal,
man.
Akram.
Wakar, brilliant man. The pair of them together.
Yeah.
Wasim and Wakar.
Yeah. Okay, just before we say ta-ra, you've done everything in the game. I don't think there's anything you haven't done. Probably professionally scored the game, but that's by the by. Notching, yeah. So, playing, captaining, coaching, umpiring, broadcasting, which element of your varied career have you enjoyed the most?
Well, at 75 years of age, broadcasting, although at the minute I'm out of work worldwide.
Won't be for long.
But, well, there's no better than playing, is there? Yeah. I loved umpiring. That would, my lad umpires, my eldest lad, and I just said to him, don't take it too seriously. I said, because we've all been players and we're never out. Batters are never out, never. In this changing room, Livy comes up to me.
Well, he's never out, Livy.
Well, he comes up to me, and he's a flipping handy lad. Yeah. He can look after himself, Livingston. Yeah. He said, can you tell that lad of yours that you can't be out LBW if you hit on the pad playing a shot and you're outside the line of the stumps. And how quick as I didn't miss a beat, I was straight back at him. I said, you mean to tell me you've been hit on the leg out there? It's the flattest thing I've ever... You've been hit on the leg? I said, you should be able to bat out there without pads. I said, no excuse for getting... I'd have given you out just for getting hit on the leg, and walked off, and he looked at me.
David, thank you very much indeed. 75 now and still going strong. Keep going forever.
When I was a kid, there was no professional women's cricket. I didn't even think that women could be professional sports people.
Especially early on, it just didn't really seem like there was a career in it.
To support myself around cricket, I had to work at the petrol garage.
I was the only girl, so I stood out.
I'd love for young girls to be able to dream about being an athlete and it to be achievable.
Thanks to the Hilton funding my contract, it's allowed me to play the game that I love all day, every day.
We're like an engine and we need to be fuelled with the right gas.
Without funding, we can't be visible. You can't be what you can't see.
As a team, it feels like we're breaking boundaries.
Thunder and Lancashire always want to put women's cricket at the forefront, and now I think that's really shining through.
It's mad to think that without the Hilton funding, like, we wouldn't be playing cricket every day, training.
Well, we could be, but we wouldn't have any money.
Yeah, true.
So the news, I'm afraid, from Emirates Old Trafford is that play has been abandoned for the day. The Middlesex boys are heading back towards their hotel because we have no play on the first day, Kevin, which is very disappointing.
Very disappointing indeed, yeah. The announcement came after the players set off halfway across the outfield, so there was a fair clue
yes,
as they all go. There's Toby Rowland-Jones appearing in his shot just to the right there, I think with Sam Robson. The last of the two title winners for Middlesex, 2016. I think they're the last two standing now. Stephen Eskenazi's gone to Leicestershire. Sad days, isn't it? And, when the squad gets... So mind you, it's gone that way with you guys, hasn't it? Dave Villis is the opposition coach now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. These things evolve, don't they? Squads evolve.
Well, some things do.
You're still sat there.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm afraid nothing on the first day for this county championship fixture. Fingers crossed we get better weather tomorrow, and we'll definitely be here for 11 o'clock. Whether we have any starts tomorrow at 11 o'clock remains to be seen.
Wait, is that it? I thought we were going to launch into one of our time rates again.
10:30. I said 11 o'clock.
What time did you say? 11? Oh.
Yeah, 10:30.
Oh, I got here at 11 today.
I'm surprised you got here at all. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, probably not. Well, actually, yes, but probably better I don't.
Right, we'll leave it there then. No play on the first day. Fingers crossed tomorrow. Catch you from just before 10:30.